G'day, folks. It's AOS Coach here, bringing you faction-focused Sky Dwarves, not the naked variety. It is the Kharadron Overlords. I'm excited to talk about an army that you don't see as often as you should, but they're back and they're better than ever. I have three amazing admirals. I think I've been dubbed the the cabin boy?
Cabin boy.
I have been dubbed the cabin boy, so I will be. I'll basically be doing everything for these guys and getting no reward. But I have three absolute amazing navigators of the sky. First, we have Crone himself. Forget his real name. It is Crone. How are you, sir?
Hey guys, good. I'm doing fine. Just freezing a bit out here in the hills. It's fine.
So for the folks who don't have any idea who you are, they didn't see your amazing feats at CanCon and know why we're making the reference to CanCron. Give the folks a bit of an intro.
All right. So I've been playing this army for pretty much since it's come out, and just kind of soloed that. Just done that for the entirety of Age of Sigmar. Recently, I went to CanCon in 2019. Yeah,
which is not only Australia's but the world's largest Age of Sigmar event. So just for context, so you're at CanCon.
There are like 200 people there. Yeah. And yeah, just managed to win pretty much all of the games except for that last one. Got in the stream twice, beat the SA Master guy at the time, and did pretty well.
You were top table with Matt Campbell, right? And the winner of Game 5 on the stream of the Honest Wargamer was winning a 220 player event. Is that true?
Yeah. Okay. If I had won that last game, I probably would have won the whole thing.
So like, no feat. This guy is a genius. Some luck went against you, but it's great to have you. And you have a podcast as well you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, it's Aether-Khemist, with me and some fellow admirals, Lay usually, and sometimes a guy called Dan. We just talk the news and how that affects Kharadron Overlords. Check it out. We've got like 5 episodes up.
You repeat the name. What is it?
Aether-Khemist.
Aether-Khemist. Give it a sub, guys. It is hot quality gold. I haven't listened to it yet. I'm sure I can find it on my local podcast, but I'm going to go check that out. And that's really cool.
Link it in the video. We will
link it in the video. I will do it after this live is the live stream has ended. And the man who needs no introduction, he is a singing genius from the Ben and Ken, the Fishmen. But in a prior life, he was an amazing navigator. It is Ben Spinetti. How are you, Ben?
I am very good. Very humble to be in the presence of such great admirals.
I did get people to ask why you were here because there were no Alapexes in Kharadron Overlords.
Hey, there's mention of flying sharks in the book, so I'll take that.
But before you were a Deepkin player and a very good Deepkin player, you were a KO player, and you still are. But you have deep roots into this faction.
Like Mr. Vice Admiral Krohn himself, that was my first Sigmar army that I got into, because I kind of got in about that time when they came out, and I just fell in love with them. They were really cool. And yeah, so I basically that was the start of my Age of Sigmar journey, really, is build them, work with them for a year, and then move on.
I mean, I remember we played at Sydney.
Yeah.
Keio, we had the boat off.
Urbaz against Zilfin.
You won that too.
Urbaz.
I'll also never forget your amazing, it was an objective marker, which is the grudge pony from the dwarves that has one of the balloons on it. It's carrying this. Your conversions are off the chart.
Yeah, the grudge pony, yeah. But I actually recently took my KO out of the case for a 3-game 1-day tournament and won with them, and I was like, what the hell? This shouldn't be happening.
KO's back, baby, and this is why this is a good time.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you. And the final guest, who needs no introduction, it is God damn it, Gary. Gary, how are you, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks.
Straight from the UK. Well, I think we're all giving you the salute. part of the First Fleet. Gary, who are you?
God damn it, Gary. Early adopter, I think is what they call me. Yeah, been playing KO since they came out. Literally the month that they came out. Kind of come and go, all depending what the meta's doing. But yeah, broke them out January for a bit of an airing and been doing all right with them.
They're a great army, and people are saying shooting is dead, and it is so not true. And I think now more than ever, when we're freaking out about things like Slaanesh making us fight last, we're thinking about witch elves with their brews being hidden behind walls with it's all craziness going on. I think KO are the people who are going to save us.
Always strike first is fine unless you go in the phase before always strike.
That's it. My free people are like going, ooh, but you guys have so much more range and so much more damage that we need you to keep the Nagashes in bay. So we are here to talk.
Faster than Flash. Oh shit!
You guys are hilarious.
Is a Keeper of Secrets faster than a bullet? No.
And I'm pretty sure that the Keeper of Secrets are going to get shot off the board. I cannot wait to see those matchups. I may even engineer some at Sydney GT.
Yes, do it. I faced a Slaanesh. I faced Ken from Ken and Ben the Fishbend Men on Sunday with his Slaanesh, and that was quite fun. So we can go into that later.
Yeah, we'll talk a lot of things, and I think we'll start off at a very high level if you guys are okay to kick off. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of banter along the way, being that I am your cabin boy. Get out the mop, and I'll start sweeping the decks. But at a very high level, you guys have talked a little bit about KO and, what drew you to KO. And maybe I'll throw this question over to someone like Gary. I'll start off with Gary and then maybe Ben. Is what drew you guys to this faction over every other faction?
Honestly, you might laugh, but it was literally the models. I mean, when KO came out, I'd only been playing Age of Sigmar for, 6 months? And I like dwarves. And I was playing Mixed Chaos, and I literally said, I'll only play this army until some kind of dwarfs come out. And then they got released. So I went and bought them all. They just happened to be filth.
And Ben, yourself?
And
No, Gary?
Yeah.
No, sorry, but Gary froze for a second, so I'm like, quick.
How dare you interrupt the Admiral? Get back.
But yeah, no.
Gary, go on, continue.
Yeah, it was literally just the models that drew me to them. The dwarfs have always been kind of a thing. I didn't like the Fire Slayer aesthetic, so I was like, right, as soon as there's something even approaching normal dwarfs, I'll just go with it. And I bought most of the army before I even read the book. I did the old big pre-order, and then sat there and decided that 90% of what I bought wasn't going to go in the army, and then bought more balloons.
And Ben?
So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's very cool. So the models definitely drew you.
Yeah. The models drew me. The rules kept me.
I don't know. I feel there's a lot of KO players out there that may agree with this, but the thing that really got me into them was that music in that reveal video. I absolutely loved it, and I think that was basically what pushed me over the edge, essentially. It was so cool. I loved it, and I still play it on repeat every now and then. Just
shout out to GW's marketing team.
Yeah, it's unlike Gary, I didn't have the dollary dues to go out and buy an entire army in one hit, so I built my list first and then build it out from there. But unlike Gary, I put lots of things in the army.
Awesome. And Crone, yourself?
Yeah, pretty much the models as well. So start of Age of Sigmar, I was just still playing the old Tomb Kings as a holdover from Fantasy. But basically when KO came out, and just the boats, I love the boats. They're such nice models, and I saw a good deal on a Facebook buy swap sell group, and just bought an army in a hit. Yeah, never looked back.
All right, so it sounds like between all three of you, it is about the models, and the models are very unique in their aesthetics, and the boats are something that we hadn't seen before at that time, and I think we still haven't kind of seen anything like them. So who are the Kharadron Overlords from like a lore perspective? Like, from the olden days in the world that was, we had these dwarves and those cities were kind of dispersed, and the cities of Sigmar are kind of bringing those dispossessed and some of those other kind of old world factions together. But the Kharadron Overlords are a little bit different. They're not the dispossessed. They're someone else. What's the story or what's the lore behind these guys?
Who do you want to go with?
I don't know. Who's the strongest lore master between you guys?
Well, they're the old fantasy. They're the old dwarves that when Chaos invaded, some dwarves decided to stay in their fortresses and hold to the last man. Other dwarves decided to do the smart thing and build new fortresses up in the sky. The gods weren't helping them, so they decided we don't need those guys. We'll do it with science. Never look back.
And they basically went up to the skies and they kind of hid for a long time, right?
Yeah, developing their own communities, establishing a huge trading network. They're basically Phoenicians, I guess. Sky Phoenicians.
That's actually a really cool way of putting it. Yeah, that's actually, I never actually thought about that before. It's really cool.
It's the first reference I've ever heard. But now,
yeah.
And now they're back, right?
Yeah, I think basically when the Stormcast came and opened up the pushing back Chaos, dwarves kind of came down, saw what they were doing, saw there might be a profit in it. Using their maneuverability to ship around supplies and troops for the logistical side of the war, and just kind of existed pretty much, doing well for themselves, allying themselves with most people.
And now
they're basically America of Age of Sigmar.
All right.
The world police.
Yeah, the Sky Police.
They've come down, the Age of Sigmar has arrived, the cities have formed, and they are now trading and being great merchants and shooting people off the board at the same time.
Yeah. I think also part of it is that they were more of the old like engineers of the dwarves rather than like the slayers or like the front line. Like, I always thought the engineers in their gyrocopters were always a bit like wacky anyway, and they're always a bit like, oh, just like we can do whatever we want. And so I think they were the sort of the portion that sort of said, nah, fuck it, we're going. And so they kind of left. There's some like really cool things in the lore where it was like coal driven or like steam driven or something to begin with. And then eventually, they discovered the magics of Aether Gold. Which is essentially dead demons, from what I've heard.
And I tell you what, like even though I don't collect the Kharadron, that art where it's the boat and the bloodthirster in the sky is just incredible. I think it's something that I've really loved.
I think it was dead demons in that one novel. Most of the time, it's like the breath of Grungy.
Yeah, it's what no one really knows.
Shout out to Gary's daughter right now. Hello.
Say hi.
Hi.
So go on, Kenkron.
I'm not gonna do it.
The joys of fatherhood.
Yeah.
It's okay.
All right, we're back. Go on, Kenkron.
All right, it's just science magic. It's lighter than their gold. Makes sense. It's just you don't have to explain that. It's obvious, right? It's lighter than their gold.
Yeah, awesome. And Ben, what are the strengths of KO?
Strength? I mean, everything in the army shoots. They love their guns. They are truly the America of Age of Sigmar. Guns everywhere. Like, they're a bit weird, actually. They're a bit like not normal dwarves. Like they're not like slayers that'll like throw their lives away because it's all part of their god's plan, or they're not like they don't usually hold grudges like the old school dispossessed, although some do. They're just kind of like they've made their own like way in the world. Basically, they're like ultra capitalists essentially.
But tactically, so you got shooting. So that's is it long range or short range?
Both really. There's a few long range things there. Most of it's short range though. I think across the army.
I'd say so. Yeah.
Like on average, it's pretty short range, except for like the standouts. I know like 100% of Gary's army is like long range shooting.
Not quite. A good proportion.
Yeah. But yeah, it's pretty short range. A lot of it has rend. Like this army is like rend galore. Like they went to rend our us and like they just bought out the entire warehouse.
Is there any other strengths, guys, that this has, or is it just shooting and?
They also have
it's shooting mobility as well.
Mobility, yeah.
I argue with mobility because they are dwarves. They are really.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's quite niche, but it's the thing that you end up putting a lot in your army. So
oh yeah, no, for sure.
Your
like,
boats,
yeah.
your balloon. Yeah.
But there's just such a big gap between like the foot movement and then like the ships and the balloon guys. It's just like two massive extremes in difference between movement.
All right, so we got shooting and we've got some movement shenanigans. Any other strengths that this army has other than the aesthetics as well, which is fantastic?
They're also one of the only factions that can get low drops without using battalions.
Yeah.
I'd say vehicles as well. They are the only faction with vehicles, like true vehicles.
Yeah, good shout.
Where you can, other than like hiding them off board, you can have them on board, but like protected from spells and magic and all kinds of nut stuff that's out there.
What about the weaknesses? Crone.
Combat, definitely combat. If they most of your units, if they touch you, the dwarves are going to just vanish. Even the balloon boys who you want in combat, if they don't get to fight first, they've got 2 wounds, they got a 4-up save, they'll disappear. Yeah, you don't want to get stuck in combat.
You don't want to get stuck in multiple combats.
Yeah. Magic.
And Gary, any other weaknesses? Yep. Okay, so combat definitely is one.
As Kharadron said, magic, they have no innate. Well, they have very little innate game in the magic phase. They've got some dispels, which for some reason got nerfed. But there you go. And if you really want to go hard into dispelling, and it's basically using a skyport, which no one really uses. So yeah, their magic game is not strong, and they also don't nowadays. They don't have any real kind of game in the activation wars, which is a more recent thing.
Yeah, a lot of missions also require wizards or heroes with artifacts, and our heroes just aren't. Well, either they're not wizards or they're not survivable enough or want to be on the front line enough to be able to hold those objectives necessarily.
Yeah,
there's less now.
Yeah, there's no real like big character you can like throw out like a bloodthirster.
Brock's our best, but even he can't take a relic.
They're all like 6 wound, 5 wound characters. Like you've just got nothing to like. If someone wants to commit to it, they're gonna kill it. Like we got a few things from like Lookout Sir, but like, even then, that kind of the double-edged sword. It affected us just as much as it helped us.
I'd be alright if we didn't have.
I don't think it's a coincidence that the Keio were better when the character-based missions also could be scored by Behemoths. And then when that kind of went away, Keio went away to a certain degree as well. And now people are saying they're better now that the character-based missions don't actually require artifacts or to be wizards and things like that. That they almost, I'm not saying it's direct cause and effect, but it's a large proportion of their viability, which is the missions and how they interact with the character-based missions specifically.
Yeah, it was a dark day when AOS 2 came out.
Yeah, massively.
Like with the heroes, the one thing that I enjoyed from that was the new duality, which was like your ships were behemoths, so you could like just whack them onto an objective. But like that's gone now, so it's like, well, now we've got to put battle line on there, and I'm not putting those Arkanauts on those objectives.
I'd argue as well that one of your strengths is that you're probably an elite army, and a traditional build as a weakness would be that you're not a horde. While you can do a whole bunch of like Arkanauts and have big units, it probably doesn't lean into your strengths. Is that a fair call?
No, I think that horde Arkanauts are like, it's pretty hoardy.
Would you take like big blocks of like 30 Arkanauts?
I wouldn't, because it'd be a boring list, but
I'd take a big block of 40 in all my lists, I think. It's one of the most powerful shooting units.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just saying what some of the lists that I'm seeing are probably more. I mean, you're spending on big elite units or maybe a lot of MSUs. So I'm sure when we get to list design, you guys are going to share all the goodness. What I think about, like,
don't go for the big units, mainly because I am convinced when the book gets redone that the equipment loadout will have some kind of change to it. So I don't want to spend money on converting and making big blobs with maxed out hooks, for example, only to find out that it's invalidated in however long it is until the new book comes out.
Yeah. I mean, I always took one of each squad with one of the weapons, because I think the volley guns are actually really good. Sky pikes are garbage, but I like them. Yeah, like
volley guns
I think,
are good.
Yeah, volley guns are really good. Yeah, like some people take hordes. Some people believe that the 120 Arkanauts and a chemist is the way to go, but honestly, I don't agree with them.
All right, well, let's fast forward into list design and let's talk about the army. I think we're kind of getting down that route.
One more thing.
Yeah.
So the KO book was probably one of the first books to bring in like your Skyport,
the sub allegiance,
like your actual allegiance based around a thing. I think Stormcast may have been before that, but it wasn't done like the way it was in KO.
No, I think KO were the first. Yeah,
so they were basically the progenitor to all these new books, getting like all this cool stuff. So, but since that's since evolved, and we've fallen behind.
So because of that, because you guys are probably an older style book, it's fair to say that you'd have no terrain piece. By taking a Kharadron Overlords allegiance ability, you do not get endless spells or specific ones to your allegiance. So what do I get by going allegiance Kharadron Overlords as opposed to a mixed order force? Gary, I might throw it over to you. What are the benefits that I'm going to get?
You get a fair amount of flexibility. Whereas the newer, I'll call them Skyports, but obviously they're not Skyports, conclaves, whatever you call them. They tend to be much more rigid. You have to take a command trait. You have to take a certain item. You have to take this. You have to take that. It's like, well, these are the benefits and these are the negatives. As it was very early in the day when they were working that all out, you actually got quite a bit of like choice. So you could take your Ziflin, and then you could take whatever item you wanted, and you could take any command ability you wanted, and you even could take an article to even fine-tune your playstyle a little bit more. So the allegiance ability is a lot more kind of flexible than a lot of the other ones would be. You know, you don't just get your rules and off you go. You get your rules, which kind of were your Skyports. Your Skyports were your rules, your faction ability. but within that, you could then pick and choose much more than you could in other lists or other factions.
Okay. So
I feel like the Skyports were because it's such a limited range of models. I feel like what they've been doing now is like basing different enclaves and stuff around certain builds of models. So like you've got your Deepkin like Eel spam, and you've got your Namadi stuff, and they go into separate enclaves. But KO, you kind of take the same list, kind of. I feel like I take similar stuff anyway, and the Skyports give you a different playstyle essentially.
So just from a rules perspective, the allegiance ability is the Skyport. Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
You get a different playstyle per Skyport.
Yeah, there's no universal allegiance ability. Every single Skyport has a different effect. So the army will have completely different special rules depending on which of the 6 Skyports you choose.
So when you guys are building your lists, do you start at your Skyports, or do you start with like a hero choice to kind of like start creating that list? And I guess I'm talking about this rhetorically as well for maybe like a new player who's going to start off with a KO force.
I think it's always safe to start with 30 Arcanauts.
All right, so you start with battle line.
You always need battle.
of course, and that's no surprise.
One of the very few armies with like no battle line ifs. We've got one battle line. That's it.
Yeah, we've got a huge variety of battle line. You can take Arcanauts with Skyhooks, Arcanauts with volley guns, or Arcanauts with Skypikes.
Whatever's your flavor of gun.
Gary, where do you start?
Well, obviously the 30 Arcanauts, but you usually start with the Skyport, because that does dictate where you're going to go with the army. I mean, yes, there is such a limited model kind of box set count for KO, and even maybe lesser of viable ones. That yes, most Skyports will have very common themes, but the devil is in the details, and there is a trick or tactic in each one of those Skyports, so you have to really kind of be working around that trick to maximize what you're going to be doing. So yeah, the Skyport is almost always the first thing on the list.
So go on, Kharadron.
I think when you're looking at Skyports, for me, I'd say there's 2, maybe 3 Skyports that you're actually choosing out of.
You literally were going to ask the question. You answered the question I was going to ask, which was literally going to be, of the 6, are they all really good, or and obviously when I talk about this, we're talking about this from a competitive point of view. If you're a hobbyist, you love a story from the narrative, you do you. Obviously, this is more about from a competitive, taking it to a tournament and doing really well. So not to insult anyone who really likes a particular Skyport. But
hang on. Before Kharadron give this, out of you 3 guys, not the cabin boy, you want to put your fingers up, and how many Skyports do you think are actually viable to use? Or count down. 1, 2, 3.
So we got 4, 4, and 2.
Yeah.
Oh.
4, 4, and 2.
Sorry, it was just like an interesting thing.
All right, so let's see what Kharadron thinks the 2 are, and then we'll see what the other 4 rebuttal with.
All right. For me,
it's not Zon. That I can tell.
Oh no, yeah, that's Zon. Just the best. Always Zon. No.
All right, so Barak Nar, is it yay or nay?
Barak, for me, it's Barak Zilfin, and Barak Mornar. So good.
I'd agree with the top 2, for sure.
I would put Urbaz in there, but that's because I'm a staunch Urbaz player.
I'd say Urbaz is top 3 on my list.
Urbaz is, I can see.
I mean, I beat
ways to make it competitive
with Urbaz, so I'll take that.
Whoa.
All right. I'm gonna. The cabin boy stepping up here. He's gonna hurt the cats. So let's talk about maybe the Skyports as there are in the book. So you've got Barak Nar.
Yep.
What do we think of that high level? What do we like? What don't we like? Like, what's your initial takes on it and why? Ben, I'll start with you.
Oh, sorry.
You go, Gary. No, after
Yeah,
you.
Gary, go for it.
Okay, I was going to say, personally, that's the kind of the poster boys, aren't they? But they just don't do enough. They are the dispelling lot. That's where Brock is supposed to be and all that kind of jazz. But they just don't have enough. There's not enough grunt to the faction benefits that it gives.
I feel like
It's
they
not
were
like-
good. I feel like they were good when they came out against like Zinch, which was like straight after, like straight
Yeah.
before. But
They
then
were
they
all
came
right.
out pretty quickly.
But then they nerfed the loop. They nerfed the loop,
Yeah,
which kind of took out any kind of real reason for wanting to use it, because the loop and their benefits worked quite well.
Yeah.
The loop was
3d6
good.
dispel.
Yeah.
Was good.
at +1. Yeah, it was really good.
But now there's no offensive buffs in this Allegiance ability. There's nothing that actually makes your damage output more than it is. No rerolls, no +1 shots, no nothing like that. So it just
It's a very magic heavy. Your amendment allows you to unbind. Your footnote allows you to unbind. Your command trait allows you. No, command trait. Your ability gets you a +1 to unbind. So it's very magic.
It's very poster boy. Yeah,
Yeah.
So we don't think it's as strong.
I'd use it as a narrative. Sure, go for it. But yeah, I don't think it's his play.
The issue with KO as a general rule of thumb is you're dealing with hitting on 4s, which is swingy as shit. If there's nothing helping those 4s, maths a bit better, then it's probably not going to be used. And the other 4 all have some way of getting over the problem of having a 50-50 hit rate.
Yeah, that's solid.
So I guess that's where the next one, which is going to be Barak Zilfin, comes in. So do we think that's a bit stronger?
oh yeah.
Oh boy, yep. These are the internet poster boys.
Why is that,
Yeah.
Ben?
I'm not going to go into them. I staunchly refuse to play Zilfin, so I'll let these guys go off onto them. I believe that they're called the Windswept City because they eat too many beans. And if you put a lit match near that city, it just, no. I wouldn't go 30,000 nautical miles near that city.
Ken Crone, maybe do you have a better example on why they might be the poster boys?
Yeah. All right. Well, honestly, just the reroll hit and wound of 1 against anything that flies. Because so many of the big units that you're going to fight have flies. Terrorgeist, Zombie Dragons, Alariel, Nagash, Bloodthirsters, Lords of Change.
Eels.
Eels.
Eel, yeah.
Sharks.
And that combined with the Arcanauts' generic ability of +1 to hit big things, it makes Skyhook so accurate.
Yeah, it just really pushes that damage through.
You'll be hitting
Unless you're
on
fighting
3s.
dwarves.
Yeah, it doesn't work against Fire Slayers. And they've also got basically one of the best artifact in this book, really, the Aetherspheric Endurance, letting a 1 vessel teleport on the field 9 inches away.
Yeah.
And then it can
It's
just
a great-
Yeah, no, that's correct. I'm just saying it's not the best artifact.
Oh,
There's funnier ones.
But
All right, we'll get to that later.
We'll get
but-
into that.
like,
No. Just a point of contention. Yet another one.
that
right, so-
artifact is the clown car. That's the whole be all and end all of the clown car.
yeah.
And we'll get to that when it comes to strategy around how we use it. So Barak Zilfin, it's very popular, obviously for a reason.
I'm still yet to see someone convert a Zilfin army to have like colorful rainbow hair and like big red, brown, squeaky noses. Still looking for that. So if you want to do that, go for it.
All right. If you made a literal clown car, at me on Twitter.
Do it.
Barrack Zon. I don't think I've ever heard anyone use this ever. Maybe I'm just not in the right circles.
And
Barrack Zon, yay or nay?
And you never will until give us a new book.
No, it's trying to make Kharadron Overlords a combat army, but it's doing it in all the wrong ways.
Yeah, buff those Arcanauts in combat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one thing that I believe that you could run with this particular Skyport, and that's just a buttload of Endrin Riggers. Because if you can get reroll 1s to wound in the combat phase, if they charge in the same turn, I roll so many 1s to wound with my Riggers. Having that, I mean, it's garbage, I know, but like, if you really wanted to do it, like Balloon Boys, Sky Pikes, and chainsaws, and maybe even Brock.
So we can build that combative kind of KO force, but it means we're probably not playing to our strengths.
No,
I think even Mornar does the combat KO force better than Zon. Just it's got better abilities for it.
Oh yeah, no. Like, I'm not saying that they're the best. I'm just saying that that is the one rule that stands out for me in that book. Oh, also the leave no Duan behind, which is the Battle Shock thing. I mean, Battle Shock's kind of a big thing, but
that is a cool rule.
It's cool. It's a cool, interesting rule. But
if one of your units fails a battle shock within 7 of the Sky Vessel, roll a dice. On a 5 or more, the model doesn't flee. It's pretty cool.
I'm not even sure what the footnote is for. Like, you can charge in your hero phase? How does that benefit anything? What do you do with that?
It's like old Iron Jaws before they made them better. Like, you could just charge or make a pile-in move. Like, okay, why?
You can't hit them. You could just move in your movement phase and then charge in the charge phase anyway and be closer.
It would make sense if there was like a command trait that let you like attack first in the hero phase or something, so you could like charge them out and then like put that command ability on them and then they can fight in the hero phase. But yeah, I don't.
All right, so Barrack Zon, let's not dwell. It's not that good. Somebody in the chat who will like me talking about this is Barrack Urbaz. Thoughts? Yeah. I know we've got a big fan in the chat.
Barrack Zon does have a sweet ass color scheme though.
All right, well, cool. Move along.
That's
you can paint your models however you want to paint
half of competitive players having a sweet color concept.
Back to Urbaz.
Anyway, back to Urbaz.
Back to Urbaz.
Proper Skyports.
A good Skyport. They're the Market City.
Wow.
So I picked this one basically straight out of the book. As soon as I got my hands on the book and was trying to build lists, this was the Skyport that I picked, and I was like, yes, this is it. This is the Skyport. They get sort of some weird battle shock stuff. The one thing was you get to take an additional artifact of power just for fun. Like, why not? So you don't even need to take a battalion to get your artifact. I, in the beginning, interpreted that as well. If I took a ship, I could put a second artifact on the ship. But I think that's been debunked.
Yeah.
But the big thing, the massive thing about these guys is that they're chemists. Instead of buffing 1 unit, they buff 2 units instead. Which is, like, bargain. So you can put 2 chemists in your list, and you're basically paying for 2, and you're getting 4.
And if you wanted to build that combat force as well, the footnote, which is quite strong, which is that once per battle, in the hero phase, a unit within 3 of an enemy can pile in and attack as if it was the combat phase, or shoot as if it's the shooting phase. So that footnote's quite strong.
That used to be amazing before AOS 2 came out, the shooting rules.
Yeah.
You used to be able to, you would try and bait your enemy in to hit your ship or something, and then all your guys would be within 3, and then they just turn, and then they just gun down something. Like
something on the other side of the board.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
But it's still good now.
It's still good for getting you out of a bad situation. Like, if you want to be able to shoot that unit that you really need to shoot, but you're stuck in combat with something, and you've somehow survived, you blast it, and then you, like... Yeah. Or if your riggers are trapped in, like, there's 1 model left, you burn it on that.
Yeah, it's really good.
Gary, Barrack, Mornar, do we like that one?
Yeah, Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Yeah, as I say, it's that kind of you can get out of these little combats easier. You can finish off things easier. The AOE reroll hits is your mechanic for getting over hitting on 4s. Admittedly, it's only one target, but yeah, it's all good stuff. It's all stuff that you need to get over the innate weaknesses of the army.
And they're the true pirates.
And they are actual pirates, yeah.
Which is really cool.
Oh, we talking about Mornar now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they can run and shoot turn 1, which works really nicely with the Brock Gunson's ability.
Yeah, and that's what I was using at Bobo. Yeah, it's a bit command point heavy, but as I say, when you combine it with like the AOE shooting command trait, which lets you reroll all your hits against one specific target, it just, as I say, the fact that you hit on 4s is countermanded somewhat by the fact that you've got all these reroll hits against at least one priority target a turn. And because it's an old book, even though it's quite... Sorry. Go on.
I was just saying it's really good because it's not just reroll 1s. I think it's the only one that's reroll everything.
Yeah, reroll failed hit rolls.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
So for those that are not in the know...
Hold on.
Oh, no, you go, Gary.
Sorry. I was going to say, it's an old book, so it's one of the... It doesn't have all these wholly within things, so you can be doing things like stringing out, like people didn't like. So you can be putting just one guy from a 12-man warden unit in range for the re-rolls, but then the other 11 are stringing out, claiming objectives, getting range for, these guns to be shooting this, but those guns to be shooting that. So it's even though it's quite a short range reroll hit buff, it's also quite flexible in what you can do with your units working around it.
Yeah. So for those in the know, what we were talking about with the whole Mornar movement thing is that they can run and shoot in the first battle round. But then if you pair that with Brock's command ability, you can also run and charge as well. So that's kind of what we were talking. I don't think we explained that really how that worked. So you can basically run. You spend a command point and you run 6, and then you can move 10, and then you move. Yeah, then you get to charge or whatever with your riggers.
So you get 12 riggers into combat turn 1, and they all get a shoot as well.
Yeah.
And probably get rerolls
for sure.
As well.
Yeah. Also,
it's basically a hot kind of list.
It has some nice. You can fight in the combat phase once per game, and enemy units that are in combat with you are -1 bravery, essentially.
No, it's even better than that. They have to add +1 to the roll, so you can stop demon units from regenning. Essentially, guys, if they roll a 1, you're within 3 of a Barret Mornar guy. You have to add 1 to that roll. It's now at 2. No more Mr. Demons coming back unless it's somehow changed.
Good call. Nice. And finally, you've got Barrack. I'm gonna butcher this. Barrack Thrang.
Tring.
How do you? I don't know.
I think it's Thrang.
Do we like this, or is there a reason why it's hard to pronounce and we just ignore it?
Like Zon, they have a sweet color scheme.
They're the ones that no one ever used, but since Keio have got their new kind of resurgence, they're the ones that actually might make the cut for the first time since the book's been released. So they're the tentative number 4 Skyport, I think.
Yeah.
Gary, what makes them a tentative number 4? Like, why could this be a renaissance for this Skyport?
Well, I'll go through it very quickly. Basically, when you set up, your army picks a unit, and then you can reroll hit and wound rolls of 1 against that unit. But then you've also got an ability that allows that to be D3 enemy units instead. So you're getting the Ziflin-esque kind of ability, admittedly not on everything that flies, but on specific units that you need to die. And reroll 1's to hit and wound is obviously really good, up to 3 units. And Age of Sigmar tends to now have less MSU. I mean, it's not, MSU doesn't not exist, but there tends to be more kind of like there's this big unit and there's this big guy character and there's this key character. So you can kind of go, right, I don't know, 20 Sequitors. Obviously, I'm going to be shooting that for most of the game to get it off objectives. So cool, there you go. Or, you know, a dragon of some description or a large monster. Yeah, so you've basically got these kind of Ziflin-like abilities which you can tailor each time that you play a different game. But again, I don't know if anyone else thinks this. The main thing is because of some of the points drops in some of the KO stuff. Things like more ship-heavy builds are maybe more viable, and they're rolling 1 dice, which was always their problem. It was 1 dice for quite an expensive ship. But now 1 dice, reroll 1's to hit and wound, when you've got more ships, because you've got more of them because they are less points, it all kind of starts adding up, and you don't have to have any kind of AoE. You don't have to be within range of characters or anything. So you can play these kind of ship-heavy armies with kind of more kind of like flexibility. You can go, right, okay, I'm playing Archeon. Cool. Well, he's not going to get absolutely hammered by all my boats because they're going to be all rolling 1s to hit.
Yeah,
all game.
sure. Also,
you don't have to.
Yeah, that dice roll once per game. I think when the first came out, Tom Lyons was talking about it. How you can re-roll your grapnel roll.
Yeah.
If you fail your grapnel roll,
how that re-roll? It's only
once per
during
battle in any phase you can re-roll 1 of your dice.
Yeah, so I don't think you can re-roll like a priority roll or the log of grudges special, the D3 to see how many units you pick.
Yeah, I think that's one you can't do, but you can definitely do the grapnel because it's in a shooting phase.
Yeah, because it's just 1 dice per phase. So if it's not in a phase, they're like a priority, it's not a phase. I imagine that you can't do it, like, for example, in priority.
So if you really want to grapnel across and you really like get that 4, you get like a re-roll essentially on it.
Yeah, but if in doubt, always talk to your tournament organizer or speak to your opponent.
You could even re-roll damage if you really wanted to. Like on a cannon, you roll 1 like you normally do, and you re-roll it. You get a 6.
Just 1 dice roll. Cool. So overall, we kind of like Kron thinks there's 2 of 6 that are good. Ben and Gary think there's 4 of 6 which are good. So I think anyone who's listening to this has got a good idea of maybe some of the strengths or which ones they might like, or maybe something to steer clear of. Any other thoughts of that, the Skyports, before we move into list building?
I think those 4 all present 4 different playstyles, essentially. You've got Zilfin with your like alpha striking, hard hitting, flying stuff. You've got Urbaz with its like you could take MSU and like your economy build, essentially, like getting more for the price of like 1. Mornar is your very like piratey sort of tricksy army, and then Thring is very much your old school like stole it like dwarves that are just like whatever. Even though they're all the same, they all.
I think most of them will have very similar. I think the only one is maybe Thring is maybe the one that finally allows maybe boats to. Yeah, you used to only have 1, maybe 2 boats, but now you can maybe have 3, 4, 5.
I've got ideas about a boat list.
Yeah, I've been running 2 frigates ever since the beginning, so it's not really a problem. But yeah, no, I see what you mean. Like most competitive builds.
Yeah. But gun haulers aren't Behemoths, they're artillery, so you can theoretically get up to like 8 boats in a list if you wanted to.
If you wanted to.
But there was never any.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you wanted. But there was never ever a good reason why you wanted to do that. The fact the gun halls are cheap
Unless
now,
they make them battle line.
Yes.
Yes.
But they're not. They're not currently battle lines, so let's not speculate. I know you want to try to fix things, and I'm sure Games Workshop are not watching this stream. If they did, this is probably not the best medium. Hit them up on Twitter. So let's talk about building an actual list now that we've got a good idea of maybe a style or maybe a skyport that we want to align ourselves with. And let's start at the top of the tree, which is obviously going to be our leader choices. And you guys have 6 leaders to choose from. We've got a chemist, the navigator, the admiral. You've got your Brock, and then you've got your engine master or engine master. Let's talk about them. Like, what do we like? What are the ones that kind of feature in most lists, or what are some that are very specific to certain builds? Anyone that stands out for you, Gary?
It's chemist.
Or
It's all
Kron?
Chemist.
All right, chemist. Chemist is the one that we hear out a lot. Why?
No, sorry, but go on. I'm so sorry. This stream is going to be full of it.
Kron. I really have to herd the cats in this one. Kron, chemist, talk to us why.
Chemist, basically your whole army is going to be around this guy. He gives his ability, his main ability is to pick a squad and give 1 weapon in that squad plus 1 shots. Obviously, something like a volley gun, not so big, 6 shots in a 7, but if you put that on a skyhook, it doubles the effectiveness. Basically turning your 40-man squad of Arkanauts into an effective 80-man squad of Arkanauts at 24 inches.
Do we only take 1?
Oh, no, you take 2.
You take 2, yeah.
Is it a minimum 2, or do we maybe go up to 3?
I used to
I've
take
seen
1.
this
I think
before.
3's overkill.
Yeah, I'd stick with 2. They got pretty expensive. They're down now, but I'd still only take 2.
Like 1 or 2 is a good investment.
1 to babysit your gun line, and 1 to babysit whatever forward units you're going to use. Be it a ship or engine riggers or what have you.
Okay, so we're looking at about 2 chemists.
Yeah, that's probably a sweet spot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's usually,
what about
Hold on.
Gary? Go on, please.
I was going to say there is an argument to having 3 if you wanted to take a certain battalion. There is a battalion where you have to take 3 characters. So if you're taking 3 characters, if you have the points, you might as well take 3 chemists.
I don't know about that.
You take that battalion. Well, I mean, you could take a navigator if you're.
I think a navigator's a solid choice.
He's all right now.
What he can give to the army.
Because it makes the army a 1-drop. So it's kind of like the how many points have you got to spend on that 3rd character, and then you make your choice accordingly.
Yeah, no, I can see, yeah.
Okay, so Gary's saying there's situations where 3 might be viable. It sounds like 2 is the minimum we're kind of aiming for. Maybe 1, but certainly 2 is a sweet spot, maybe a 3rd. But then
if you run Urbaz, you can afford to take 1 because you get basically 2 chemists for the price of 1, essentially. But yeah, I think 2 chemists in most of the other skyports is probably a safer bet.
And you mentioned I guess I wanted to kind of go the other side, and you mentioned the navigator. What's so good about the navigator? Is it only in certain situations, or is it a must include in every list?
If you take ships, take a navigator. Because he will just make your ships just instantly better. He's your only character that can unbind, unless you're outside of Barrack Nar, or you need a piece of nullification terrain, or you've got some weird artifact that lets you do it. They're your true unbind. Their real skill lies in screwing over flying armies.
Oh yeah, if you know you're playing against ghosts, take a navigator. They'll hate you for it.
Yeah, so you basically run your navigator up as far as you can, plunk him in some cover so he's on a 2-up save, and then next turn you basically use his storm ability, goes off on a 3. All flying units that start their movement within 18, not wholly within, just within 18 of him have to halve their movement if they fly. So you essentially, if you go up against Nighthaunt, you're essentially making Nighthaunt move slower than dwarves, which is hilarious.
And if you've played your army right and you've got some long range shooting, maybe those monsters are half strength, or their movement, which is normally 16, is now to like 10, and now you've halved it to 5.
Making Ghost run 3 inches, and it forces them to run as well, which is really cool because then they don't have really no mechanics to charge. Not a lot of armies have mechanics to run and charge, so you're kind of really hampering them.
Gary, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, you touched upon their other real skill, which is the fact that they've got the best armor save on any of the characters. So if you
the Admiral. Same with the Admiral.
But points to saves.
Yeah.
He's the cheapest one with the best save. So if you need just a guy to, say, sit on a bit of objective and keep your prospector buff going, then he's the guy. He's cheap. He's got he have 2 saving cover. So he's all good to go for 40 points less than any other character can do it.
80 points.
And he's also
80 points is lovely.
Yeah, it's a nice little. I took one to Masters because of that reason. But he's also got a movement buff to boats, hasn't he?
Which is big.
So he can make a boat move 3 extra inches, which is actually quite useful, especially when you're using boats to cock block things and tie up big units.
It's only D3, not 3, but it's still really good.
D3, yeah.
Can make it D6 with an artifact.
Oh yeah, you can too.
So you guys mentioned the Admiral as well. Anything else about the Navigator?
He's just he's a cool little guy.
Cheap. He's currently 80 points in the current edition, so he's a good little addition, if nothing more, to reduce movement of flying, which I think is a great ability. A lot of armies now have flying in some form.
It does really annoy players with stuff that flies, and he says it has to move half now.
Yeah. He's got no bad rules, and he's cheap. He's just solid.
Yeah. He's a good, which is why I was saying, like, if you took that battalion with the 3 characters, you take 2 chemists and 1 of him, because he's actually not a bad addition. If you're taking a ship,
you would be,
He makes that ironclad move 10 basically instead of 8.
Yeah.
What about the Archanaut Admiral?
I don't like him. I don't like him at all.
Why?
He's okay. So he's just doesn't do much. His combat is all right, but he's only got 2 attacks. I'd say if you want a combat character, go with the Endron Master. He's tough, but so is the Navigator, and you get him for cheaper. And his command ability is.
So I disagree with Mr. Cancron. I love the Admiral.
Why?
I think the Admiral is amazing. I just love him because you need an Admiral to lead the fleet. Like, you can't have a scientist leading the fleet, but I used to take.
So you can.
No, you can't.
That's my hobby. I'll do what I want. But Ben, why are you taking Admiral?
How dare you speak over the Vice Admiral, Captain Boy? I'll have you dragged to the gun decks and have you flogged in front of the Sky Sharks.
I'm going to mute you in a second.
You watch your tongue. Anyway, that's my one thing.
You've been waiting for that for a while.
I have been, yeah. I love the Admiral. You used to take him because you used to never be able to. Your general would always have the command ability, and his command ability was actually not bad because it would just make your units battle shock immune within 12. If something hits your lines and they don't manage to kill the last 2 Thunderers, then it's not a worry really. I still sometimes use it. He's opposed to Cancron. He's actually he's fairly decent combat character.
Is he?
Like the Eidolon. So he's a bit like the Eidolon of Mathland. He doesn't put out the most amount of damage for his points, but they're consistent.
4 damage.
But they're consistent, and that's what I matter about. They're super consistent.
All right, Cancron doesn't like it. Ben does like it. Gary, where are you at with this guy? Or her?
Ironically, ironically, somewhere in the middle. He used to be a lot better than he was, and as I say, the new edition invalidated a lot of his rules. So, like making something immune to battle shock. Well, you just spend the command point and do it retroactively with the new Inspiring Presence. So, don't really care.
But that's only on one unit.
The kind of protect. It is only one. It makes it less of a less appealing. I mean, it's not appealing. It's just less. The kind of save thing was kind of mitigated somewhat by the fact that you got Lookout Sir. So again, you kind of got something for free on another character just by the fact that it was a new edition, and also the FAQ, which then stopped a lot of the Zilfin kind of movement shenanigans. Kind of stopped the kind of because his main ability, I would say, is the fact that he can let ships run and shoot, but he couldn't really do that anymore because he wasn't getting the hero phase move and being able to get the guys out. So you used to be able to go hyper aggressive and just have a Zilfin boat, move it for you did anything, get everyone out, move them, shoot them. The boat would then run as well, but you'd leave the Admiral on the boat and he'd shoot as well. And if you had Brock, you'd also then charge the boat as a big kind of speed bump. And all these things, little things kind of stacked up. And that ability was one of the things that you could throw in the pile to maximize your... but of course, you can't do that anymore. So, and as I say, the command ability lost its value a little bit. So he's just become a bit meh. Yeah. You know, he needs another attack as well.
So I still use him as like that front runner. If I'm taking Iron Sky Squadron, I usually whack him into a ship and then just send him forward with the ship. For that sweet turn 1 double cannon. But you can actually augment him a lot to make him a fairly decent combat character.
So I'm hearing that he's situational. I think that's he has some value, maybe not in some situations, but it's a bit of a hit or miss.
He's a cool model. He's one of the sweeter models.
He's not it's not a must include like the Chemist or even the Navigator.
Yeah, but you can make him work. He's a 6 wounds as well.
I think that's the trick. A good army, you don't have to make things work; they just do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
All right. Well, you guys can fight over this on Twitter. It sounds like it's we're undecisive on this particular. If you got a comment in the comment section below and tell me what you think. But what I do want to know about is the Endron Master. Do we like the Endron Master?
No.
Gary, is that a no as well?
I mean, you've got a cute trick, but generally no. I mean, he's probably the best combat character we've got, apart from damage 3 is quite nice. I think it's damage 3. It is damage 3 if you do the trick.
Yeah.
And the trick, of course, is that there's nothing stopping you rolling to hit, rolling to wound, and then after you've wounded, then you can turn it on and do your 3 damage after you've seen if you've got any palpable hits. Which is a bit biddy, but there you go. But because he on a 2+, he can make his D3 weapon into damage 3.
This is the supercharged.
3+.
It's a 3-up, I think.
Is this supercharged? It's a 3+.
1-up, you take a mortal wound. 2 does nothing, and then 3.
Yeah, but of course, you can, with the way it's written, you can wait to see if you've got a decent amount of hits to see if it's even worth making the 3-up. Which is, as I say, which is cute, but it's not pushing him to the point of viability. The heal's quite nice. You can heal boats nearby, but as you're usually getting that off of riggers anyway, it becomes less impactful.
Yeah. You can build him if you really
either dead or.
Given an artifact, you can, and a couple of figures, you can really use him and to make him more ironclad.
Oh yeah, if you took 3 of them in an ironclad in a Zilfin list, good luck killing that ironclad.
Well, the thing is,
in a boat list.
Yeah, I wish I've always thought he should be a chemist for the ships because you can't augment the ships with the chemists. Like if he could pick a ship and add +1 to its attack characteristics or whatever. Like I don't know. I feel like he could be way more useful. But again, with the Admiral, I think he's more of a situational. If you like him, take him. If you don't take him.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
All right, so we think the Admiral and the Endrin Master are situational. They're not hot garbage. They're also not a must include. They kind of sit in the middle and look at the list that you're kind of building. Final two characters you've got, unless
There's only one more character.
Oh, you got two.
No,
you've got Bjorn.
No, we don't talk about Thundrick. He's just basically a chemist. He's essentially the same rules as a chemist with a name, so you can't give him an artifact. Move on.
We do need to talk.
Move on. Don't need him. He comes with some really shitty buddies for.
This is the Underworld warband, correct?
No.
Yeah. All right. Let's acknowledge it for people who may have bought it. So really quickly, do we like the Underworld's warband in Age of Sigmar? Gary?
Nope.
No. There is
Krohn?
fringe.
Nope.
No. It's a no. Gary, now explain why, but it sounds like a consensus.
There's a cool chemist model in there, but not a name character.
Gary, why don't we like it?
The models are cool, but he doesn't do anything other that a normal chemist doesn't do. He comes with a higher price tag with a unit which has no focus.
I think he has +1 attack in combat.
Great.
On his 4 and 4, no rend, yeah.
Yeah. But 3 attacks this time, not just 2. Look out.
Sure, excellent, great.
The use I can see is not even anything to do with him. It's to do with the unit that he comes with, which is you can fit it into, because you can take it under strength. You can take units under strength, can't you? So you can drop one of the guys, which you paid for, and then you
can't take it. You have to go above the min size, but you can't drop it. You could drop it below like any other thing more than that.
Take 20 Arcanauts, drop them down to like 19 Arcanauts.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then take the unit, and then you've got like a big load of guns in an ironclad. Because for 5 models that he comes with, most of them have quite good shooting weapons, so you can try and pack more shooting into a dropping down ironclad.
The Thunder is not bad at like sniping characters.
Exactly, yeah. And then there's a volley cannon in there as well.
Yeah. You wanted to fit a volley cannon.
So you can, if you need to put a chemist in to buff the Arcanaut, so then obviously that's what he does. So you can do this kind of heavy drop ironclad thing with them if you really, 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 really need to. Ironically, it would work a lot better if they'd given the Endrin guy the rule that all Endrins have, which is that he didn't count towards the
troop limit.
The transport.
That's right, because he doesn't.
Yeah. He doesn't have that, yeah. He's the only balloon in the entire army that doesn't have that rule.
Yep.
It's just a unit character. Can't give him items, and it's just a bit of a bad fit.
And it's expensive at 260 as well, so it's a big chunk of points for something that's not adding a huge amount of value.
He's just adding the same value, essentially. Like, all the other, except for Moloch, all the other warbands had like a sweet command ability on their like leader. And I was really hoping when that warband came out that we get a sweet, like, another command ability to use that's not like the Admiral of Brox.
Most warbands haven't integrated properly or effectively.
They gave you an option, but like unlike like Moloch, there's just nothing. Just they're really cool alternate models. To buy them, alternate models.
I'd say because
gone.
Your list is going to use 2 chemists, so might as well make one of them the Shadespire one, so that you can tell them apart. Or just have the same model twice.
Yeah, exactly.
And finally, I guess now we've acknowledged the Underworld's warband. You've got Brock. We've got your unique special character that has an amazing top hat. What do we think of Brock?
I think it's ironic that the Lord Magnate of Barak Nar works best in Barak Mornar.
I think he's actually from Barak Mornar. I think he's just pretending to be like the Lord Magnate of Barak Nar.
Yeah, somehow.
He's definitely some shady shit behind him, like for sure.
So do we like Brock as in a list?
In a very
all the time he keeps coming
specific list.
Okay.
Oh, we're getting a bit of turbulence on the Aether Sea.
Gary, do we like Brock?
We do, as I say. We do like him, and as I say, he keeps coming down and down and down, which makes it better and better and better. At 300 points, he was trash. He's got a good scroll, but his points are just out of whack for what he is and what he does.
So he's now 240. Is that valuable?
It's still out of
40
whack.
now. It's still a bit out of whack, but it's at least usable now, I would say. He's about the same kind of points as a Deep King, for example, and does kind of the same-ish job. He gives a good buff, and he's all right in combat, and he's fairly fast. So if 240 is the kind of point you pay for that kind of model, then he's probably about right, but he still feels a little expensive.
See, I feel like the playtesters wanted him to be at 200 points, but then they had to add the other 40 for the mustache and the top hat. They were just like, we have to point, like there has to be point value to this top hat. Like it's just too cool.
I think DW just generally are scared of shooting, and he's a character that shoots. So, he's always going to get some kind of tax whacked on top of his points, I think. Yeah.
I mean, I think his greatest strength is his command ability, right? To just get things to run and charge, and that's everything within 18. So you can get your whole army into that pretty easily.
And it's not wholly within 18 either, so it's just within 18, which is a nice bonus if that's something you can see yourself using.
But it really only works in Morna and on their first turn when you can combine it with
shooting as well.
Shooting, yeah, because from Keio, most of the time you want to get shooting out of them. Yeah. Even with your combat units, you can get way more out of the shooting than with their combat.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, so we've acknowledged Brock. And I think what's clear to me is that when we're looking at hero choices or leader choices, the Chemist and the Navigator are almost like definitely need to be in your lists. Chemists probably need 2. Is in most lists on average, could go 3, could go 1, but average about 2. Your Admirals and your Engine Masters are on the fence, situational based on the army list. It's not an auto include. It's definitely not a
not Brock in there as well. Put Brock in there as well.
Brock is also in that position where it's like points have definitely come down situational. And our Underworld's Warband.
Don't even talk about him.
Bjorn
he's been thrown overboard already. We don't need to talk about him.
He's not valuable. Send him to the fishes.
He can stay with He can be in the same place we put Bags on.
All right, him and Zon can live together in a scope by
You're
themselves.
on the Zon deck. Oh no, I don't want to be on the Zon deck. That's the prison deck.
Are you guys ready to talk about your amazing, huge range of battle line choices?
Oh yeah.
Cool. So Keio has 5 battle line choices to choose from. You've got Archanaut Company, Archanaut Company, Archanaut Company, Archanaut Company, and then Archanaut Company.
You're not far away. You do have 4 different options.
Okay, so we've got 4 different options, but we have one choice, which is the Archanaut Company.
Archanaut Company with pistols and swords, just plain pistols and swords. You've got Archanaut Company with swords and skypikes. You've got 5. You've got Archanaut Company with volley guns, Archanaut Company with skyhooks, and then you've got Archanaut Company with 1 of each. There you go. There's your 5.
All right. So I guess a couple of questions that I have for you guys is when you're picking your battle line choices, are you going minimum sized units? Are you going large units? Are you going 1 big unit and 2 smalls? Like what comes through your mind when you're thinking about building a list with your Archanaut Company? Like what are the considerations? Gary.
Okay. I always go minimum. Although I have played about with 20s and 30s before, but that's only ever been like 1 unit. I go minimum just because well, there's real world problems, which is the fact that they are going to get changed more than likely. So I don't want to convert up all these things that might be irrelevant at some point. And I also find that I get more bang for my buck out of the balloons and the other units and things like that. And so the Arkanauts, while being amazing, tend to be the things that kind of mooch around the backfield, sniping things. As soon as they become 20, 40 man big, they become a target. And then if they're a target, they just evaporate. They are not tough. They are not hardy. They need babysitting. So it always kind of became a bit too much of an investment for me, an investment that I couldn't really protect. So I would toy with 20s because 20 goes in an ironclad quite well, and then you can get out of the ironclads, buff them, and do a decent amount of damage. I know some people do like 40s and 30s, but it never really suited my play style. It became more static, where I prefer more mobile.
So you're looking at filling your minimum requirements and spending more of your points on things like some of your other choices that we'll talk about in a minute. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, basically. And to be fair, they win you games, but they win you games usually by flying under the radar and then being the second wave of, right, you've dealt with all that, but while you've been dealing with all that for 5 turns, there's been 30 Arkanauts throwing skyhooks at you, and you've had you've been too busy with the other things to give them much attention.
They essentially play Giant's Treasure. They're the kid at the back that's slowly creeping up while the other ones are all getting caught. And they steal the treasure.
So Crone, when it comes to your Arkanauts, how do you build them out? And do you see a world where big 40-man or even 30-man blocks are viable? And how and why would you do a large unit?
I mean, yeah, I think my playstyle is pretty much exactly the opposite. I'm all about getting one big 40-man squad of Arkanauts with light skyhooks, and basically building my army around that as a core. So you get 40 Arcanaut company, arm them all with skyhooks, put a chemist with them, get them to shoot 24 of these shots every turn, and then basically spend most of the rest of your army defending that. I think two other minimum squads of Arkanauts is important, especially as screens to protect your big unit, as well as other screening units. And yeah, that squad, if you with all the bonuses, because Arkanauts get +1 to hit against monsters and heroes and monsters. 24 light skyhawks is going to kill Nagash in one volley. Hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s to hit, wounding on 3s, rerolling 1s to wound. Ren 2, damage D3. 24 shots.
So you're doing that obviously by for every 10 models in the company, 3 can choose a specialist weapon like the Sky Pike, the Light Skyhawk, or the Volley Gun. That's correct?
Yeah. I know people are with the release of things like Storm Vermins, or the change of rules, people are saying that it's going to be for every 10 models you can have 1 of each special weapon. But
that's not the rule today. That's speculation, right?
Yeah, at the moment, it's for every 3 you can take any 3 special weapons. So yeah, with 40 you can take 12 Skyhawks. Skyhawks.
Or you could mix it up, right? Like I could take a couple of Skyhawks and a couple of volley guns, or am I set with one of the weapons?
You could take various weapons in your squad if you wanted to, but I'd always recommend, no matter what weapon you take as many of that one weapon, because it matches up with the chemist a lot better. And chemist picks one weapon type.
Okay, so the chemist buffs a weapon type. So going all in on the Skyhawk or all in on the volley gun, it benefits with the chemist. But if I was to split it out and say, well, I'll choose some volley guns and some Skyhawks or some Sky Pikes, I'm only buffing one of those special unit weapons. That's correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So you're not
So
really getting the
taking-
most out of the chemist buff.
Yeah,
It's a very common thing with KO. There tends to be one very clear winner when you work it out logically, and it always usually kind of comes back to the chemist as well. The chemist buff is so good and so integral to the army that you always play to the strengths of that chemist buff, and that is usually the lower the shots of a weapon, the better the chemist buff is on it, and you might as well maximize that weapon in that unit because you're going to get more out of the chemist buff again.
Yeah.
So, to the point, I have never really seen anything on Arkanauts other than light skyhooks. In all most, I mean, I have seen some volleys, but the lower range and the fact
I'd
they
make
can't volley.
Yeah.
I think a big unit of 40 is terrifying with volley guns. I feel like they do more than what a unit of skyhooks would ever do, but that's just me.
The volley guns are only hit on 5s when they're
Yeah.
running Arkanauts.
Or if it's a character.
Yeah, 4 if it's a character.
I'd make a case. I'd make a case for volley guns. If like on the small minimum squads that you're not gonna buff with chemists, that are just gonna kind of walk around by themselves, I'd say 3 volley guns are better than 3 light skyhawks with only 1 shot each. But if you're planning to go big on that squad and buff them with a chemist, always the skyhawk.
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm somewhere in between you two guys with the amount of Arkanauts that I take. Because I'm Urbaz, I like to run my units MSU because I can spread them out. Like you can target one unit of light skyhooks, but you can't target the other.
That's multiple small units, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know that terminology.
The chemist can buff like 2 separate units. Also, because it was Keio on a budget, I basically just built 3 10s, all with 1 of each different weapon. But I kind of found that helped me playing wise in determining what each unit did. So the skyhooks would sit at the back, getting the chemist buff, taking out important characters. The volley guns would sort of move up and be your sort of like assault objective, like assault takers. And then your sky pikes would be essentially your screen, which would protect like the army from turn 1 charges. It's not big, but like for me, they would easily define roles when I was learning to play the army.
So what I'm hearing is there's no clear winner. Volley guns and the skyhooks are definitely big winners. The sky pikes you guys didn't mention at all, so I'm going to assume it's not as good.
They do nothing.
Yeah, you can throw them off the
Except
skyhook.
for one game where I managed to kill the big dinosaur in 1 turn with them.
But the lesson I'm hearing is that you want to go all in. If you're going to choose volley gun, go all in. You're going the skyhawk, go all in.
So for each unit, you need to pick a special weapon for each unit. Like if anything's to be learned from this, just if you take a unit, you put all of the same special weapon into them. Doesn't matter what it is.
That's the chemist buff.
Yeah. It's just a shame when you buy them in boxes, you get 1 of each special weapon. So to properly outfit a squad of Arkanauts, you're going to need to buy 3 boxes for 1 unit of 10.
You have to use some of that dwarven engineering there to engineer up some bits. But there's some really cool conversions and stuff you can find online, and it's like resources and stuff.
I didn't find those.
I think
I'm stuck with the 120 Arkanauts.
So I agree with Gary. I think the unit of 40 is a massive what do you call it, target? Because when I played you at Sydney GT last year, instantly that unit of 40 just screamed, "Yep, I've got to kill you." Everything else, like if I can get rid of that unit, everything else isn't that much of a problem. Like it's not that bad.
You really have to build your army around it, But I think if you do it, if you can pull it off, it kills everything it looks at.
But I feel like you can do the exact same thing with Urbaz and 2 separate units of 20, essentially. And they're both targets, but they're both individual targets. So you've got to commit to one side or the other. You can't just hit the one in the middle.
I'm hearing it's much of a much. I don't. Again, there's no clear winner. You could go multiple small units. You could go a big block. You could go a nice big block and 2 small units. You could go something like in the middle around 20, and that's really good for your ships. I think
it really boils down to, can you paint 80 Arkanauts? Can you endure the pain of painting 80 Arkanauts?
If I can paint 160 to 200 grots, you guys can paint.
No. You haven't painted an Arkanaut.
Yeah, you got contrast paints now.
No.
Outside of
all those metallic contrasts.
Pardon?
All those metallic contrasts.
Yeah, all those metallic contrasts.
Outside of your battle line choice, you've got some other units. You've got your engine riggers, you've got your thunderers, your gunstock thunderers, and then you've got your sky wardens. Now, balloon boys, our engine riggers, are in every list. Is that a pretty much like a must-have?
I'm going to hand that over to Gary, as that's his purview.
Yeah, I would say riggers were. There is a strong argument now that they don't have to be. Activation wars have blunted them somewhat, but they are still a really, really, really good unit. Like before the handbook, you didn't take wardens. You just might as well have taken riggers all the time because they were the same points. And if you wanted to shoot a unit of balloon boys, you just took riggers and made them shoot you ones.
So when
because they were better in every way.
When the book first came out, Sky Wardens were 100, riggers were 120, and this argument was happening then. And then for some reason they changed it to 120, and then everyone took riggers. And now they've changed it back to what they originally were, and now we've still got this argument of, do we take riggers, or like you can make an argument for taking both.
Now you can, yeah.
But you used to be able to, and this argument was happening like in the beginning of Keio. Like,
things about riggers. Riggers are much better in combat. Because they don't rely on the 4s. They don't rely on the curse of KO, which is hitting on 4s. Like, they're hitting on 3s really good. They are decent combat units.
And better at shooting.
And short range, they're actually better shooting. They've got 3 shots at short range. And their short range isn't actually that short, it's 12.
Yeah, and sitting on 3s as well.
12. Yeah, exactly, 3s and 4s. Basically, when I'm running both units against someone and someone doesn't know what they're doing, I describe them as, this is my shooter unit that is okay in combat, and this is my combat unit that is pretty good at shooting. They both do both jobs.
I love that.
Exactly. But they're like, oh, so that's the combat unit. Why did it just take my 10-man unit off with shooting? It's like, well, because they're pretty good at shooting too. So riggers are great all-rounders. You're usually giving them grapnels, so they've got movement, they've got combat ability, especially buffed with chemists, and they've got decent unbuffed shooting. 3s and 4, yeah, I'd say 3 dice, 3s and 4s, Ren 1 is enough to kill stray characters, chaff, all these kind of things.
Can we just really quickly unpick the grapnel, because I think it's a very unique mechanic as well that that I don't think.
No, you don't want to go down this rabbit hole. I will throw you off the ship if we talk about this.
Like,
I will call martial law on this ship.
I'm going to mute you over the edge. Ben, you are going to be muted. For a new player, we're in an elevator. Can you give me the elevator pitch or the explanation on the grapnel? Because it is a very unique rule.
All right. Basically, it's not a shooting attack. It's an ability. At the end of the shooting phase, for every grapnel, you roll a dice. For every grapnel in a unit, you roll a dice. If you roll at least 1 4+, you can move up to 24 inches towards a piece of terrain or a large enemy model, stopping
10 wounds.
Stopping the moment you hit. Stopping the moment you come within 3 inches of an enemy unit. You must stay out of that 3 inches as per the FAQ.
No, it's changed so much.
Okay, and Ben, all right. So Ben, what's in contention? Just again, without going into like some big internet rant.
All right. So the FAQ stated that you now have to choose the closest point on the model or the piece of terrain, and you can't fly over units, essentially.
It doesn't
but
say
I don't want to get into this. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't specifically, but people say you can't, people say you can. I'm not getting into this. This is a rat's warren that will never leave.
Because flying units sometimes treat flying units treat other units as not existing for the purposes of movement. So do they stop within 3 inches or don't they? Or it's
if the unit is there, do you have to stop within 3 inches of it because it's not there? So
Yeah.
So my advice to you guys, and thank you for acknowledging it. I think it's important to acknowledge it, whether it's right or wrong or how you guys kind of end up. I think the most important part is speak to the tournament organizer around the way you rule it before you enter an event. So you're not set up for disappointment, nor is your opponent surprised by something. So
I think the fix to that is just giving them like a Reaver's move, like a high elf Reaver move. Like they get a 12-inch move after they shoot or something. Make it that simple.
Extremely powerful rule with an extremely badly worded FAQ entry.
Yeah.
A neat trick with the Endringers and Skywardens I've heard from my friend Lay. So the Skyhook, if you shoot an enemy unit and you wound it, you can pull yourself D6 inches towards that enemy unit. It doesn't say you have to stay outside of 3 inches when you do that move. So you could technically shoot them, drag yourself into combat, and get past like Overwatch from Free Guild or other Arcanor or other Kharadron Overlords.
You don't need to. Just shoot the handgunners behind them. It's not hard. Then charge.
we can practice that, Ben, when I get my Free Cities book.
Shoot the handgunners. They'll lose their Overwatch.
No deal. All right, cool. We've acknowledged that engine riggers have some value. Not an auto-include, but definitely good.
No. They are an auto-include.
They are an auto-include.
No, they're not.
I think you need at least a unit of 6 in a list.
Nah.
All right, we're in the fence.
For a combat punch that you need, I think 6 is a decent number.
Okay. So they're a maybe.
No, they're...
For me...
Take them.
Yeah, no, they're a maybe.
All right.
What's Gary? Gary, where do you fall on this?
They are amazing, but their usefulness has decreased since the activation wars. But now they are still a very good bully unit.
Yeah.
You will go into something that doesn't have activation war stuff and destroy it. And that's a very useful tool to have in your army.
Thunderers.
Yes. Thunderers.
Love
Gary,
Thunderers.
you like Thunderers as well?
Yeah, they got shitloads better. Absolutely loads better. They were possibly a bit too expensive, but now there's another one of these really good rules and a really bad nerf to their war scroll.
Yeah.
So they had a very, very tumultuous history in the book.
They've gone in like waves. They were amazing, and then they were not so great, and they've sort of come back up to they're pretty good.
So why are they good?
And even when they weren't amazing.
So what it used to be is it's this squad of 5 that you can make up to a squad of 20 of basically your elite shooting guys. They've got all kinds of different special weapons. You used to be able to arm the entire unit with any one of these weapons. You could have 20 mortars, 20 deck sweepers, 20 cannons, whatever. People used to run big squads, 20 mortars, 36-inch range. Now, you can only take one of each special weapon.
In every 5.
For every 5. So a squad of 20 is going to have 4 mortars, 4 cannons, 4 deck sweepers, 4 fumigators, and 4 rifles at maximum.
They did get slightly... They sort of numbed the pain a little bit with that weird, if this, then that, if this, then that kind of thing. And it sort of... It didn't... it changed them forever, but
it's basically like dice rolling, putting on a lot of effect if you do mixed units.
Yeah, so the current rule...
You're doing all this kind of if I roll this first, I can do this, and if I do roll this, and nothing happens.
I hate it. It's just admin hammer, and I don't like admin hammer.
I think there's an argument to be had if you have 2 deck sweepers and 4 ether cannons. One of those deck sweepers hits wounds. Then all 4 ether cannons can reroll all hits and all wounds.
Oh yeah, if we're
which is
taking
pretty
unit
nasty.
20, I think that's solid. I think some of the special weapons now, my honest opinion is rifles all the way.
Yeah,
for the
still rifles.
for the chemist buff, but I think you can easily augment some of those models with like a fumigator for that
I was going to say, yeah, or you take
that -1 attack,
single fumigator. Yeah.
or
There's
even
an
like
argument.
or even a deck sweeper. Like take a deck sweeper on a normal guy, and you're basically getting more shots than you would on a rifle, just at slightly shorter range.
Yeah. There's arguments for the special weapons, certainly, but yeah, it's nowadays it's rifles.
It's rifles because you arm them all with rifles. They get the chemist buff. Same story as the Arcanauts.
So you get 2 shots becomes 3 shots at 18-inch range, 3s to hit, 4s to wound, rend 1, damage 1. But so many shots.
Yeah. On a hit and run unit as well.
Yeah.
Which is
but that's not their best ability.
What the hit and run?
Their main ability is they're essentially skinks.
Yes.
And skinks are some of the most powerful units in mixed order. Thunderers are one of those very rare units that get that retreat out of combat ability.
And there are so many uses for that.
With the dawn of 2.0, like just made them even better, like made their stock rise even more. Because if you didn't want to shoot that unit that you were in combat with, you just get out of dodge. If you manage to win the next priority, you know you're taking the next turn. There you go. You've got options to shoot now. Yeah. Or what Cancron did in CanCon was steal objectives.
So basically, you take the Thunderers, you shoot something, then you get them close to a unit on an objective, you charge into that unit, then it's your turn. The moment you activate, you immediately retreat them, run them an extra d6 and movement forward towards an objective, and basically just slingshot them halfway across the board.
And they got even better because now you can spend a command point on them to make them run 6. If you really
get
want.
10 inches out of combat as well.
So I did that to Anthony, actually. This was before 2.0 came out, but I remembered playing your Death Army.
Yeah, Legion of Night with all the Vargas.
Yeah, Legion of Night. I had my Thunderers. They weren't on the objective. And I was like, how am I going to control this objective? What I did was charge the Terrorgeist. This was before they got their activation stuff. Charge the Terrorgeist for the Thunderers, retreated them immediately, rolled the 6, moved them back 10, which was further than they were ever going to get, and then got my objective back, essentially.
Gary, any other thoughts from yourself around the weapons, and maybe even specifically about the mortar as well? I don't think we've spoken about the mortar yet.
But the mortar's junk,
Gary?
unfortunately. Yeah, the mortar is just junk. It got the single most hardest nerf back in the history of the game, I think. It went from 36-inch range to, is it
12
6 or 8 inch?
12.
Yeah.
12.
It got a third of the range. It's a mortar, which is outranged by most pistols. So,
like, how does a Grot bow shoot further than a mastercrafted, like, dwarf piece of, like, rocket-propelled artillery? Like,
I know why it did. I mean, the maths used to be you can buff.
Oh, it's broken as all hell.
You could unlimited buff. Chemists used to once upon a time. Instead of just getting one, you used to be able to get as many chemists as you've got buffing a single weapon type. So you could get. It was the old P6K days where you could get a unit of mortars with 36-inch range and 6 shots each. So you had a unit of 20, so you had 120
shots at 36
range shots. Yeah, re-rolling to hit because you're more D3 damage. And it's like, well, take off 9 Skyfires in one turn of shoot, and all that kind of stuff. But they nerfed it to 12 inches, and you can't buff them.
They could have kept all the changes that they had, but all they needed to do was keep the range on that mortar at 36 inches, and I would probably still debate taking one. Because having like a really long range, like even if it's one shot, like picking up that little witch in the rank of things, just like it's nice to have.
Yeah, exactly.
But now it's just garbage.
That FAQ, that scroll change is what basically pushed the heavy full rifle build, which is good, and Cancron is saying how you do the hit and run shenanigans, which is why I'd sometimes run one. Is it Fulminator? Yeah, the -1 attack debuff, because you can use them as kind of like shields, absorb charges, and then run out or charge and maybe not activate them straight away, and rely on -1 attack to see them through while you activate something maybe more important.
And they're really good for baiting your opponent's combat decisions, because they might have something in with your Enden Riggers, and they might want to. They're gonna wipe out those Enden Riggers. But then you tell them, but you've just charged my Thunderers. They get to retreat out of combat like Skinks do, and they're like, and they have to rethink their thing. They're like, oh, maybe I should kill these guys first, and then it frees up your Enden Riggers to kill whatever they were going to die to.
Yeah, force them into a no-win situation. But yeah.
All right, so I'm hearing Enden Riggers are good. I'm hearing weapon choices. The rifle's probably the stronger of the choices, but definitely there is some value in a few of the other choices that are
the mixed weapons are really sweet-looking guns, but yeah.
Another way I like running Thunderers is in the Zilfin boat. So you take a frigate, take 14 Thunderers, so buy 15, bring 14, put a chemist in there. Bring the boat down, Thunderers get out 9 inches. There's 14 of them with a chemist. 3 shots each, like 45 dice you're throwing at somebody. It's a lot of damage you can do.
The Crone Honor Guard.
Yeah.
The Crone Guard. The 14, his 14 most bravest.
The loyal 14.
The 14 samurai.
And
what about Sky? Yeah.
Because they went down 10, they're now comparable to Arkanauts. It used to be like, why take Thunderers over Arkanauts when they're so much more points efficient? But now you can get like 20 Thunderers for the same price as, say, 30 Arkanauts. So it's like a tangible kind of choice there.
I never took them for the shooting. I took them always for the retreat. That was like always. Always. Because like not everything has to do damage in a list, but you can do some really sneaky shit with them.
Now we need is them to be battle line.
Yes. What do we think of Sky Wardens?
They're okay now that they're 100 points.
Now that they've gone back to where they were, then this argument between them and Enden Riggers is like stirred up again. I think they've got a place.
Yeah, I love Sky Wardens. I think they're now, again, one of the best things in the army.
Why?
The range. I like my threat ranges and my mobility. The thing about Keio is that you can outrange most things and make deployment sometimes almost irrelevant. And having a unit that can fire 24 inches and move 12 and having a 36-inch range just makes a mockery of some screens. So you can just target a unit at almost any kind of range, especially when you add in things like more run and shoot, and dropping down from boats. You can literally go, it doesn't really matter what you do unless you're leaving it off the table. I will get to shoot it in my turn 1.
Yeah,
deal with that, and the fact that they are now cheaper than riggers means that you can get more in the army. So so I'll be making lists with, say, 24 wardens, 2 units of 12, take 2 chemist buff.
Ouch.
And go, right, you see that unit? It's just gone,
Yeah.
And it's that fear when you explain the maths and go, yeah, they hit on 4s, yeah, and they wound on 3s, but it's rend 3, and I can bounce more wounds, and I'm doubling the shots. It's like, you just delete stuff most of the time.
So with the Sky Wardens and the Enden Riggers, with like the Arkanauts, you can 1 in every 3 you can take a special weapon. So you can take the grapnel launcher, which is what we talked about, and we will never talk about ever again. The drill cannon, which is amazing, really cool, and then you've got the light skyhook as well. Oh, and the volley gun. You got a volley gun as well.
So they can take one of those 3 weapons, and then an additional one can take a volley gun set. So every squad of 3 can have a Skyhook and a volley gun. And there's volley gun hits on 4s, which is nice.
Yeah, I know. I've seen Gary play around a lot with the drill cannons. You play with the heavy shooty Sky Warden army.
Yeah, exactly. Although I have now with the new edition and the new meta as it's kind of panning out, I am messing around with units of 3, just 3 guys with a grapnel and a volley cannon and a champion, and using them as little chaff units because the KO points gave you so many extra points. I could almost take my existing list and then just add 2 little units of chaff, and they're very good at dealing with, say, Death Stars, so like 30-man half-guard berserkers. You grapnel over to the front of these big scary units and just literally sit in front of them and go, right, your movement 4, you can either charge me and I'm literally right in front of you, or try and walk around me, and that means that I'm getting another turn to shoot your characters with all my kind of longer range stuff, which is sitting way back. So you take 2 because it means statistically you're getting one of them, and you start hemming in these units and creating bad movement zones, or even just scoring objectives early and forcing people to deal with them while, again, you're sitting further back and just picking your targets and focusing fire, right? And maybe giving yourself another turn, which in KO is huge sometimes.
Yeah, I like that. That's really cool.
They're also hilarious against ghosts.
Against anything that flies. Yeah.
Big unit of 40.
Not many people put these on the models, but they come with little sky mines. They're fragile as all hell. I don't even
break
touch
off
them,
so
but
much.
they have this rule where you go. Sorry.
So for it's a thing. It's a little like an ability. If you get charged by something that has fly, you roll a dice for every model in that unit, and on a 6, they take a mortal wound. You get charged by a dragon, it's not going to do much. You roll 1 dice, might take a mortal wound. You get charged by 40 chain rasp. There's going to be some dead chain rasp after that.
For each model, that's pretty solid.
So if you can also do that as well. If you can make this even worse for them, you can have a unit of Sky Wardens next to a frigate with the Malefic Sky Mines artifact. So you have to roll, for each model, you have to roll 3 dice. And each 6 is a mortal wound.
Ouch. Now you guys are getting into advanced tactics here. This is ouch. This
is
hot. This is beautiful.
They also have some weird, like, 1 mortal wound if they disengage, which...
Yeah.
Okay, so we like the Sky Wardens. There's some good use in them. I think Gary's shared a beautiful way to use them.
Apologies.
Yeah, no, Gary used them awesomely.
Cool.
Yeah, apologies about
anything else you guys want to talk about from like a... Sorry, Gary? So, Gary, you were going to say?
I was saying, I do apologise. I had to go get my kid in because it started raining. Sorry.
That's good. All good. We were just talking about the Sky Wardens paired up with a frigate, paired up with Malefic Sky Mines against a unit of 40 chain rasps.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. I mean, it's a bit niche, but it's something.
Oh yeah, it's very yeah. It's it's a silver lining to our Aether Gold cloud.
So you guys have 1 artillery unit, which is your gun hauler. Do we see any value in taking that, or are you guys fans more of like the big boats?
You would never ever see a gun hauler when it first came out. They were expensive. They were stupid. They were just awful. And even with their
20 points.
Yeah, even with their points changes down to 160 in the previous General's Handbook, I don't think they were still worth taking. And I always thought you could never find a price for them that I would take them, that they would ever be worth it. But this current GHB making them 130,
it's questionable. Maybe, yes.
They're not bad.
So what do they do it for 130 that is now making you reconsider entering them into your army list, Crone?
Well, it's a cannon shot. They've almost got the same amount of firepower that a frigate has, just without the transport. It's that one hits on 4s, wounds on 2s, rend 2 damage, d6 weapon. And you can, with 130 points and with a formation, with a battalion, you can really buff that almost to hitting on 2+. Which, if now at 130 points, you can get enough of them to actually do the damage with that.
Yeah, that's Gary.
Yeah, the issue is it's not a great scroll. If you get down to it, it's not.
No, it's awful.
So at some point, there's a tipping point when a bad scroll becomes good just because the raw stats that the scroll has. And it basically almost ignores all the special rules which never get used, which they don't. Yeah, there's a lot of rules on that scroll that just don't get used. But at some point, there's a tipping point when you go, okay, a fast-moving cannon shot is actually okay at, and I think 130 is possibly, I think 120 might be the one, but 130, you can at least make it work. You're not using all the other stuff. You know, very rarely are you going to use the run kind of stuff or the kind of bodyguards kind of rules. But a fast-moving cannon shot, which can then be buffed at 130, is at least feasible, if not brilliant.
You can actually, so I've always contemplated using these guys like Gary uses Sky Wardens, basically just as blockers. You can make these fantastic ship walls to protect your infantry. From charges, you can just get in the way.
I still have mine.
I mean, they're not as hitty and they're not as great as Sky Wardens, but you can, if you want to take them, you can use them in the same way.
I mean, 130 points for 10 wounds, moves 12. You can either have a Rend 3 or a Rend 2 shot, and there's either D6 or 3 damage. That's not bad.
No, it's D3.
Damage.
D3.
Has the drill cannon changed to a D3?
Let's not talk about.
Yeah.
Don't look at the book. Look at
on all the Sky Wardens and Endriggers, all those damage 3 weapons, they're D3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't even look at the book. Just look at the AOS app.
All right. Well, make sure. I'm looking at YouTube right now.
Half of that book is obsolete.
That's a really good call out, and maybe something that people should consider is what's on the book is not necessarily what's now in play. So.
If you want to get the book for you get the book for the Skyports, and you get the book for the painting and the lore.
Potentially consult the FAQs in the errata before you go out and build.
You have to read a Keio book size of FAQs and erratas to this army.
There's a specific part in the book where they call out a strategy saying if you use this combo, you can get a 3d6 deny roll. Which the FAQ then went and just said, nah, it's too much. You can't have that.
The good old Ben Johnson 1-2. Oh,
Right.
it can do this. No, it can't.
We'll keep that in mind when you're building your lists. I'm sure it wasn't Ben Johnson that did that. He's a lovely man. So artillery is questionable, but now for 130 points, there is now potential to include them because they've got good wounds, they've got good shooting, and they've got good movement, and they're now more viable.
They haven't got. It's a coin cost. It's a coin toss with their shooting. So
there was a battalion.
Oh yeah, but still
battalion.
Yeah, and you can there's ways to buff them.
Yeah. You take them in the battalion, but we'll talk about the battalion.
All
Talk about that later.
Finally, you've got 2 behemoths. You've got your frigate. You got your ironclad. Gary, what are your thoughts on the 2 behemoth choices?
I like them both, but I liked the ironclad more to begin with because it was the more cost-effective boat. And now I'm going to, and frigates were massively overcosted originally.
Yeah.
So it was like, I might as well take the ironclad because for only a few more points, I'm getting all these extra guns, extra transport capacity, extra wounds, extra everything. There was no real point taking a frigate. And again, it's very much a kind of same as the other things in the book. Gun haulers, they gradually brought the frigate down to it's finally at a point where you can go, do you know what? I can take it just for making my drops lower and having something mobile. You know, it's now 200 points, so it's almost half of what an ironclad is now. So if you want to just stick loads of balloon guys in and make your drops lower, then yeah, you can take the budget frigate rather than spending the 380 points on the ironclad, which is a better thing, but you're now paying appropriately for the two ships. And as I'm liking my balloon boys at the moment, it's another 200 points to spend on more balloons by taking the frigate. But yeah, they've both got uses. I would say they've now found their niche each. They used to be kind of vying for the same kind of thing, and one was just overtly better than the other. But now you've got a cheap version and a good version, and you pick accordingly.
Yeah.
So Ben, why would you take the big one? Like, why would you take the more expensive one, like the ironclad, over a frigate?
So I would never take the I'd never took the ironclad. I didn't like the model, basically. Just personal preference. I didn't like that model. I didn't like the way it was proportioned.
So you're a frigate man. You're spending your points in the frigates.
I'm a frigate man. I took frigates when they were 280. You take them in the Iron Sky Squadron Battalion. Makes them a little better, but as Gary said, there's a scroll and there's ways to make the scroll better. But I love frigates. I think they're really cool. And they were basically they're essentially expensive meat shields for keeping your Keio gun line safe for just that one more turn while they charge your ship.
So Crone, what does the ironclad give you that the frigate does not?
Nowadays, it's significantly more firepower. It has the volley cannon as opposed to the sky cannon, which I think is really nice. 10 shots. It's just a lot of it's consistent. It's consistent. It's gonna put out a certain amount of wounds every turn. The torpedoes are really nice, and it buffs your ships as well. So you can basically give all your ships the Zilfin upgrade without being Zilfin. The reroll ones to hit and wound against flying things.
Okay.
So there's 3 gun options for it. There's the big, massive minigun, and then there's a cannon, and then there's a drill cannon, and you always take the machine gun.
You never take the Skyhawk.
Just because you can take that on a frigate, like why would you take the not cool gun? It can also add movement to ships as well, I believe.
I don't think it does that.
Oh no, it adds range. That's right. It adds range to all the guns.
Yeah.
So your 18-inch guns can now be 24-inch guns, or your 24-inch.
It only adds 3.
I thought it was 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's better than nothing.
Can also give you +2 to all your carbine shots, though. So if you run if you spam
gun haulers, they're essentially frigates for cheaper.
Shots, yeah.
They become frigates, but at a lower cost.
The ironclad was lovely back when the Lord Ordinator was at his peak, but now I'd probably go for the frigate over the ironclad, just because I don't need 25 transport. I think 15 is enough. You can fit balloon boys and whatever, and 14 Thunderers is all you need, really.
Okay, I think a good discussion about ships and maybe the pros and cons on taking the frigate versus the ironclad.
There's some of them have got some weird janky stuff. Sorry, Gary.
So the other thing I would mention is that the ironclad does make your drops much better than a frigate, because you can get 2 MSU Archanaut units inside. So if you want a 2-drop KO list, you can take the ironclad, because you get all but one of your Archanaut units inside that ship and deploy it as a pseudo 2-drop.
So you can also do that with Iron Sky Squadron as well.
You can do that, but then obviously you're paying for the boats and the battalion. But that's the niche that the ironclad's got, is I can take something that's perfectly functional by itself, but also just by almost incidentally reduce my drops if 2, 3, 4 drops are kind of an issue in your meta, in your area. Like if you take the frigate, you're usually kind of coming in at like a 4-drop. So if you're playing lots of 3-drops and you really want that first turn decision, then maybe you go for the ironclad, just to kind of make that. Historically, that was why the ironclad was always used as well, because it was back in the day when you had like 2-3-drop Zinch lists, and you wanted to go before the Zinch got to mess around with their chain show stuff. So you took the ironclad because you then went first, and you took off all of his good wizards and then passed the turn. So if the meta moves that way, the ironclad may come back. But at the moment, again, if you don't mind the drops being a little bit higher, then the frigate is cheaper and lets you get more guns.
Okay. Yep. I think really good discussion. And again, let's see how the meta evolves, and maybe that becomes more viable. But right now, I think it's great that both of them are good choices depending on what you're trying to achieve. We're at battalions now. I think we kind of talked all about the unit choices. I think we've been pretty robust with that. And it's a really interesting variety between you three. Some people like something, some people don't. Some people think it's kind of in the middle. Now, you've got 4 battalions plus a mega battalion.
Let's just not talk about the mega battalion.
Well, you guys don't have to talk about it, but it's there. So
Yeah.
there's 5.
Another offense that I'll throw you over the deck for.
I'm going to kick you in the crutch.
So I guess the Mega Battalion, it's like minimum 4,000 points. It's a fluffy list. It's a fluffy choice.
Cool. So I to move along. Unless you're playing 4K battles, Grand Armada is definitely not for you.
I warned you, Cabin Boy. I warned you.
All right. Well, what about the other 4? Is Keio an army that has to have a battalion? Like there's some armies that just have to have a battalion, or are some of these nice to haves, or not really?
They're really good at getting your drops low.
Surprise the century. Let me guess, you also get a command point and an artifact.
Well, now you do.
Surprise. But
And that's pretty much all you get out of the Iron Sky command.
Yep.
Do we like the 4 or do we not?
I like 2 of them.
Which
I
ones
like
do you
one of them.
1, 2, Gary?
They've all got a use, but there is obviously there's a very definite hierarchy on effectiveness. I have used all 4 at one time or another.
All right, so let's.
But yeah.
So Iron Sky Command, which gives you -1 to Battle Shock and what is it?
Lookout,
every
sir.
dice. Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't like it.
Don't like Iron Sky?
It's got an ironclad.
See, I like this one, but not as much as I used to.
That's the Iron Sky Command, right?
The Iron Sky Command.
Because you
Iron
also
Sky Command is what I did. Masters.
You took that to the Masters.
Yeah, because this was not Masters this year, but the year before, when there was still a lot of 1-drops kicking around. And I was messing around with my tournament list, which is a 2-drop. And I was like, if the chances of hitting a 1-drop at Masters are massively higher because of the field. So I took Iron Sky Command because it allowed me to get down to a 1-drop. So at least it became a roll-off against some of those kind of key matches against other 1-drop armies. And it did pay dividends. But that's its main benefit, is the fact that you can push from quite an easy 2-drop to a kind of a squeezing 1-drop if you really, really, really have to.
I think that's essentially all the KO battalions do, is they just help you get really low drops from what you're already really low drop army.
I will say the Iron Sky Command gives you a nice little way to shrug off wounds from a hero within 3. So that's a nice little ability that you see like on the Necromancer with his skeletons. You can kind of shrug off wounds on a roll of a 5 or more, which is not bad, especially because your heroes are quite squishy.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that it didn't get used, but it's just not the reason you're taking it. That particular battalion is literally because you can make a functional 1-drop.
Okay. What about the... Go on, Ben.
Yeah.
No, it was Cancron.
Right, KO.
Oh.
Cancron?
Oh, I was just saying, it's not worth the 130 points you're paying for it.
Okay.
the command.
Fair enough. I
Yeah,
love the
squadron.
Iron Sky Squadron. I love the squadron.
Why,
Um,
Ben?
Because when I first built my list, this was the list that I wanted to run, and this helped me build my list. It essentially gave me, because you can, when you deploy your KO, you can choose what goes in the ships. So you can, I could make this a one drop, basically a one drop list with this battalion. You basically put all the Arcanauts out of the ships, you put everything in the frigates that's not in the battalion, and then you basically just get a one drop. But you can tell when your opponent asks you how many drops are you, you can be like, I can beat a minimum of one drop. Because and then you can sort of start psyching them out with like, all right, so you've got a 9 drop, so I can, put stuff in the ships or whatever I want to do. But that's not why I like it. The way I like it is because it's got lots of frigates in it, and its opening salvo is really fun. Because in the first battle round, you add 1 to the attack's characteristics for all the missile weapons on the frigates. So all those cannons are getting 2 shots instead of 1.
And you're allowed to take between 2 to 10 frigates.
2 to 10, yeah. A really fun thing that I like to do with that is it says in the first battle round, not your turn. So if you arm one of the frigates with the last word, which is a ship artifact, you run those ships up the line, you fire into something valuable with the cannons, and then they will countercharge you, and usually into that frigate wall, and one of them has the last word, so you get to fire 2 shots every time a unit ends its charge near that frigate. So you get 2 shots in the first battle round.
It's a good little tip.
It just, I don't know. It's I've used it to great effectiveness. Like on the weekend, I had a Frost Lord charge my frigate with the last word in the first turn. I shot it with Overwatch. I did like 13 wounds to it. I then, in my turn, then got the Urbaz command ability, Urbaz footnote off on them, so I got to shoot twice again with cannons, and then in the shooting phase, I got to shoot it twice again. So I got 6 shots out of that frigate, which normally isn't a thing you can do.
Yeah.
Gary, you were saying?
I was just saying, it's not something I would have normally looked at before, but now with the frigates being at 200 points, it's definitely a lot more appealing. You can actually get more sundries into it.
Yeah, and in particular with, I think, in this thing, in the previous General's Handbook, when you needed artifacts of power, this was a pretty easy way to get an artifact of power.
280 point price.
I like it. It's 130. It's 130. It makes you army 1 drop. It's like, it's the price you pay for an artifact at command point or 1 drop army.
You can take those units. That's not bad.
2 shots on the cannons. Like, when statistically 1's going to miss, like, it's a coin toss. You get at least 2 chances to do it, maybe.
What about the escort wing?
Oh, love the escort wing.
You're a fan?
Yes, love it.
I've been looking at it and just doing the calculations. It's always been just a bit too expensive, but now with the points drops, I think it just works. With everything I want in it, it just works.
I think it more than works now.
Well, you can run the escort wing, it's a big formation, and you can run a big squad of 40 Arcanauts, and you can run an Ordinator.
So everything in that battalion went down in points, even the battalion itself.
Yeah. Wait,
You get to add 1 to the hit rolls for the unit in the battalion.
Yeah, it used to be 200 in the last GHB. Now it's 130.
Oh, wait. 200?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a pricey battalion. But everything in that battalion went down.
But yeah, it gives the things inside it +1 to hit. So that's how you got your 3 gun haulers hitting on 3s, and then you have them surrounding a Lord Ordinator that you take as an ally, and now you got 3 gun haulers with cannons that are hitting on 2s.
But that's not the best thing, is that all your Thunderers and all your Sky Wardens are hitting on 2s. Or all your Thunderers are hitting on 2s.
Everything hits on 2s.
Against one target, admittedly. But if you can do that with Morna, you take the trait, which lets you pick a unit to reroll hits against. And then you take this, which allows you to pick another unit. So you can pick 2 units, essentially.
Well, this
And
is
Morna also lets...
works in.
What's that? Sorry, Garrett?
I said this is the battalion I also think that makes Thring also potentially workable now.
Yeah, for sure.
Reroll ones to hit and wounds on a lot of cheaper stuff. The Thring ability works much better on single shots, and there's a lot of single shots in there with the frigate and the gun orders.
If you want to run like you have lots of ships, this is the battalion you take with lots of ships.
Yeah. Lots of ships never used to work. Now it does, and this is why.
Yeah.
The battalion that doesn't have... Go, Kenkon.
I'm actually thinking of taking this one to SAGT, because that's 2,500 points. I'm going to put an Ironclad with this and make those gun haulers even better.
That's terrifying.
Good call out from the chat as well. Is it the Throwing? It lets you have 2 frigates in that escort wing. And more grudges. So
Morna lets you take 4 gun haulers in that battalion.
Yeah, nasty.
It's pretty cool. It's a really cool battalion. I like it because it's rule of cool.
One that doesn't have a lot of boats is the Aether Strike, which is going to be your KO with a nice little Knight Venator from the Stormcast.
Stormcast. I will never have anyone in my army.
I don't think is it possible to run this as KO? Because I know there was at least last GHB, the Stormcast were too expensive. You couldn't run this as KO. It was only a mixed order.
No. The Stormcast count as allies for the purpose of the battalion, but they don't count towards your ally points.
Okay.
And you only need to take the Knight Venator anyway. That's the so you need 3 units of prosecutors as well. Yeah, 3 units of prosecutors plus the 1 unit of a Knight Venator.
Yeah.
I don't like.
I mean, we don't see prosecutors very often anymore. Anyway, the Knight Venators, is it the Star Faded Arrow is quite good, but prosecutors definitely haven't seen play for a good 12 to 18 months.
I know there's a bunch of people making this list and playing it, so I'll be keen to see their results. I know a bunch on the KO page are thinking about doing this and stuff, and a fair go to them. That's cool.
I think it might be worth it just to see a 12-man unit of Endringers shoot twice in every shooting phase.
Or a unit of
that could be pretty devastating. Yeah.
Turn 1, you could even make it 3 times because you can start messing around with things like Urbaz and stuff like that.
Ooh, yeah, you could too.
Yeah.
But a turn during the game, you even get 3 shots off.
That's going to definitely get you out of combat with whatever you've got stuck in with. I think there's definitely a way to play it. I just personally don't like it because it's got Stormcast in it.
Okay.
I really think allies are necessary with KO. You got to take those Stormcast.
No,
maybe not these Stormcast, but you got to take certain Stormcast.
No, you don't. Not with the new command abilities from GHB 2019. I don't need Knight Venator with Volley Fire.
No, but you need wizards. You need mortal wounds.
I usually take it in cancel a lot of the time, to be fair.
So Gary's taking Knight Incantor, ally wizard to get some buff, at least some magic buffs and defense.
He's a really good addition to the army for sure.
Yeah, my go-to ally is usually the Incantor with the Dice, so that I've got a mobile wizard. I mean, I might not now because you might not need the wizard as much, but beforehand it was definitely always in my list because I needed a mobile wizard who also happened to be fairly tanky and also have an auto dispel for stopping your your big spells early doors and keeping the tempo high.
I like to go to as evocators.
Oh yeah.
They're tough. They're killing in combat. They cast magic. Well, they dispel magic. They do mortal wounds, which is something Keio really have a hard time doing. They just do everything Keio don't.
Evocators were ridiculously undercosted and like stupid for what they could do.
You could take 10 of them for 400 points.
It was stupid. Yeah.
Now
exactly.
you can still take 5 of them, and you have 180 points worth of allies, which I would put into protectors now, or one of the paladin types of stormcast.
Outside of Stormcast, is there any other worthy allies that you would consider?
Because I staunchly refuse to put Stormcast in my army, I have put an Incantor in once, but never again. I will put their dogs in. I'll put their Aether-Wings in. I think they're really solid. A 50-point unit for like 6 wounds just to run around and like... Because people are going to be focusing on your ships or your Thunderers or your Riggers. They're not going to be worrying about 3 birds running around.
Yeah, but the dogs got hit by a nerf, didn't they? They don't let you Overwatch anymore.
Yeah, no, just take Aether-Wings.
Yeah.
I like Aether-Wings now. I will be converting my Grudge ponies into Aether-Wings. But I think any of the dwarfs are really good. Like taking a Rune Lord is really solid.
As in the Dispossessed we're talking about?
Yeah, Dispossessed. So take a Rune Lord and maybe a big wall of warriors to provide a big wall.
Is what I have been messing around with as well, because you can make the double-handed weapons into Ren 2.
Yeah.
On a small base with 30 or 40 of them.
Yeah, I ran that for a while and it's solid. Really, really solid. Like they don't die quickly. Rune Lord, what else? Gyro Bombers are really good. I like Gyro Bombers.
Okay, from the Ironworld Arsenal.
Yeah, quick little shits that run around. No one really wants to put stuff into them, but they kind of have to because they will be on your backboard. Just there. They do some mortal wounds. They've got a decent little shooting attack. They're a sweet little model. They kind of fit with the whole KO aesthetic.
They should have totally been KO things. Yeah.
They're good. They're a solid little like harass unit just to run around and just be annoying. And what else? Fire Slayers. Rune Smiter and Volkites to like pop up somewhere.
What about 10 Berserkers as well?
Yeah, it's still a wall you can pop up.
What about something like the Knight of Zeros, which is another Stormcast character that lets you reroll once to hit in the shooting and combat now? Do you see something like that being useful?
I used him at last SAGT. He was all right. He can zoom around, capture objectives. He's a hero, so he's good for those kind of missions. The reroll ones is nice, but basically the moment he gets in range and your opponent knows about the buff he gives to your army, he just gets targeted immediately and killed by a throwaway unit because in the end he's not that tough.
No,
you know what I think about Azeros? Lotan can kill an Azeros. So no.
He does have a good little once per game little grenade that he can do and does a lot of damage, especially to Chaos. But it's an option.
So what Gary was saying about you can only take 10 Volkites now in a Rune Smiter for points.
10 Berserkers as well, so you might as well just take those.
Yeah. I like from the thinking outside the box a little bit, taking 4 Grimwrath Berserkers. If you really want some combat punch in your army, just take 4 of those like jacked up dudes. And they can just kind of go off and do their own thing, really. They're their own self-contained little unit.
So I think what I'm hearing from you guys is when we're looking at our ally pool, we're either looking to bridge the gap when it comes to magic, we're looking to add a bit of combat punch, or we're looking at maybe potentially even some bodies like from the Dispossessed, or you made some interesting calls as well about the gyro bomber kind of things from the Ironworld that would kind of complement the fast movement that you've got internally.
If you want really super durable Dispossessed wall, I would probably take Ironbreakers instead. Just ditch the Rune Lord for the Ironbreakers. they'll probably survive more than your warriors, but
Cool.
And one last allied thing, we've talked about him before, but the Lord Ordinator. So he's not the peak that he was back in first edition, where he just got a war machine to shoot twice, but he still gives every war machine that is wholly within 12 of him +1 to hit. So in battalions like the Escort Wing, or just sitting next to like a couple frigates in the Iron Sky Squadron, just the +1 to hit is really nice.
Yeah, that's a good call. That's a really good call. We're going through a lot. I think it's now time to start customizing our force. I think we've talked a lot about our Skyport. We've talked about our leaders. We've talked about our units. We've talked about everything. It's now about customizing and making the most out of it.
So before we go into that, I feel like there's 2 more kind of weird outliers for KO.
What have we missed? What have we missed, Ben?
You can take, currently, before the new book comes out, Tempest Eye. You could run a Tempest Eye army with full KO. You don't get all of the abilities that a Skyport would get, but you get some pretty neat stuff.
All right, so what we're saying here, guys, is this is the Firestorm rules that will probably be superseded by the cities of Sigmar.
Yeah, but currently,
and you're sacrificing your Skyport.
Yeah,
because you're not Allegiance KO. You would be Allegiance Firestorm City, whatever you pick.
You're sacrificing your Allegiance KO. You're not a KO player at that point. Yeah. Come on.
It's a way to play them. And also with the new Lesthizian Guardians or whatever, you can do some wacky things with that KO army. But I mean,
all right, Ben's talking heresy. But if you're looking for a different way to use your models, yes, the Forbidden Power and Firestorm do offer you some interesting different ways of using your army. But know that you are sacrificing your Skyport because you are no longer Kharadron Overlords.
I mean,
just thought I'd mention that quickly.
No, good call. There are different ways, and it allows you to obviously to build your list a little bit differently.
Results may.
Let's talk. Pardon?
Results may vary.
Yeah, look, Ben's been corrupted by the Aether Sea by being under the water too long with his deep kin.
Get out of here, Hydneth player.
Bit of corrosion. Maybe you're the deck sweeper, and I've been promoted to, like, I don't know, janitor.
At this point, you've been thrown off the ship.
You've
been thrown off my ship, at least.
Quite you. Command traits.
How dare you speak to an admiral like that?
Assuming that your command trait isn't chosen from you for your Skyport, out of the 6 that you've got your Doughy Champion, you've got your Doughy Champion, sounds like a donut thing. Fleet Master, your Grudge Bearer, you've got like 6 choices there. Anyone stand out for you? Maybe just the high level, like which one stand out for you, Gary?
2. Fleet Master and Prospector
are
basically, I mean, you can use the other 2, other 4, but they're the 2 that really push playstyles.
So Fleet Master allows you to reset up a friendly sky vessel in deployment.
Mm-hmm. And that includes taking it off the table and putting it in the sky if you're playing Zilfin. So you can basically null deploy through sheer fact of you've got a rule.
That one's really good too for like baiting your opponent when they deploy. You can put all your ships on one side and then be like, that's where my ships are, and then like, okay, so they counter put stuff wherever in a bad position, and then you just move your ship over to the other side of the board.
Yeah, it's happened to me a few times and it sucks.
It's basically when you're going for the alpha, it's the ability that lets you then really hone in on the weak point of the battle line and exploit it. If that's what you're going, or if as you say, you can always null deploy. You can sometimes just literally use it as a scouting tool and just literally go, I don't know what I'm going to do this game, so I don't mind it. I'll just literally stick it there because I know I'll get to redeploy.
Yeah.
Everything inside it at such a time as I know what the hell you're trying to do. So it's my go-to. It's usually what I end up going with if I've got the choice.
Same with me. I go with it a lot too.
Okay, so Fleet Master 2, Crone?
I go with Prospector is my favorite one. It basically, especially for like a gunline KO army, you can ignore Battle Shock completely. You pick one piece of terrain, and as long as your unit is at least partially within that terrain, it ignores Battle Shock.
While your general's alive.
while he's alive. So I sit my big 40-man squad somewhere in that piece of terrain, and no matter what happens, they'll stay there.
I remember
Also,
that's what killed your big unit of 40 was Battle Shock.
Yeah.
It's really solid. I haven't actually really looked at it. I think it's now you've pointed me to it. I love it. It's really cool.
The other one I was using, the one I was using at CanCon, is number 6.
Rising Star? Rising...
No.
Stickler? Stickler.
Stickler for the Code. That one. Yeah. Stickler for the Code. So...
Generate an extra footnote.
You generate that, and then you use... So footnotes are like the once per game abilities. But the one I used that for was to get around a rule that all the Skyports had, which was you cannot take these are just guidelines as your footnote. And these are just guidelines changes your primary article, so the primary benefit. So as playing as Zilfin, where reroll wants to hit and wounds against, reroll wants to hit and to wound against flying things, I basically took this so that the moment I fought against a Nurgle list or a Daughters of Cain list or something that has no flying units, I can get rid of that basically useless rule and hopefully get something at least a little bit better.
Yeah, there's a lot of debate with this, whether you have to roll for it or whether you can pick. I think you have to roll for it still.
I think you have to roll for it, yeah.
Because it says reroll duplicate results, so it sounds like there's a roll involved.
Yeah.
It's because elsewhere in the book it says you can pick or roll, and it's similarly worded, but there it specifically says
you must roll for it.
Yeah. So I just use it to basically get rid of a useless rule in the off chance that I fight an army that it is useless against, which, Nurgle, Daughters of Cain, Fire Slayers, they come up. And yeah, get something nicer, get something better.
Yeah, it's really good for a tournament variety. Reminds me of my Collegiate Arcane Battle Mage, which has it has 8 different spell choices, but because the one War Scroll can be up to 8 different choices, I don't have to make that choice until I'm actually at the table. So that's a really good call. You've got battle traits. If you choose to not be a part of one of the 6 Skyports, you can essentially make your own, which allows you to have an article, an amendment, and a footnote. Really quickly, what do we think about any articles that stand out?
You can just make your army Zilfin.
Okay.
You can take Master of the Skies and just make your custom Skyport Zilfin. Get the same
Master of the
rules
Skies, reroll hits and wounds of 1. They target something that flies.
You can make your custom Skyport a hybrid of both Zilfin and Morar. And so you can do the run and shoot and reroll ones against flyers.
Yeah.
You do lose quite a bit doing it, but it is definitely possible, and it's definitely viable if your meta dictates it.
Do you think it's worth going outside of your Skyport?
Not in a tournament.
So much that I think if well played, I think someone could definitely take it like the right combo.
But
it's not something that you'd recommend by the sounds of it.
No, I think it's more of a fluffy. It's more of a theme your Kharadron Overlords to be the exact fluff Skyport you want them to be. But for tournaments, you want the command abilities and the artifacts and what have you from the Skyports.
And there's some interesting stuff in there, like Don't Argue with the Wind allows you to consider a run roll always a 6 if you need that. There's some interesting stuff.
Yeah.
You can definitely custom build if you've got a particular list that doesn't fit any of the Skyports. You could definitely custom build something that fits that particular list for sure.
Let's just talk about artifacts then. Instead of harping on maybe something that is not as useful, I think battle traits sounds like it's good. It sounds like you can make little hybrids.
Oh yeah, everyone's favorite footnote, by the way. What's everyone's favorite footnote?
There's no trading.
Oh yeah, that's right. You can get every Skyport gives you a free footnote from this list.
What do you
except
like
for these just guidelines?
What do you guys?
Well, yeah, there's no trading with some people.
Gary?
It's what you pick.
Trading.
Yeah.
So once per battle, when an enemy unit suffers an unsafe wound, you can roll a d3. That enemy suffers a number of mortal wounds in addition to that other damage.
No
It's-
trading.
It's really good on drill cannons.
Yeah.
Really good. It's because you can,
So
if you get any of the 6s and bounce, because drill cannons on a 6 to wound, you can bounce d3 mortal wounds into a nearby unit. And if you get, say, like you've shot like a big unit and you've tagged a little kind of wizard nearby, and you get a nice 2 or 3, you could sometimes just then go, oh, all right, then I'll just throw the other d3 mortal wounds, and suddenly you've thrown 2 d3 mortal wounds into a character that wasn't even line of sight, and you just killed it.
Yeah.
so much
I think
rage
there's
coming
probably-
from this.
I think there's one more. Probably, I saw this played by one of the guys who just started Keio, and it was really interesting. He picked the today's foes are tomorrow's customers, which is basically once per game you can treat a run roll as a 6, which is really good for Thunderers. If you really don't want to make that roll, you just get them out of dodge. You don't need to spend a command point. You don't need to have a hero nearby. You just, off they go. But yeah, no trading with some people is generally the one.
And that's the one that, almost like the mantra. It's like, Stormcast have only the faithful, and I feel like there's no trading with some people is like the mantra of KO.
So many times when you shoot a bloodthirster or something big, and there's 1 or 2 wounds left, and your opponent's like, yes, it lived, and you're like, yeah, no. Dead.
It's a finisher. It's like the little swish at the end of it, like a sword.
It's Mortal Kombat, like finish him.
Also makes your shooting a lot more efficient, because sometimes you leave something on 1 wound or 2 wounds, and you're like, I don't want to have to then shoot, say, all the skyhooks from this unit to try and finish it off, and even then you might just whiff it and not hit, not wound, or they might make a save. So you can go, do you know what, I will finish it off with the D3 instead, and it means that unit of Arcanauts can now shoot something else rather than having to, because you're always going to over commit just to make sure you're going to kill something. You're not going to go, I'll try 1 skyhook just to do that 1 wound, because the chances are it's just not going to hit or not going to wound, or it's going to, so you'll fire all 3. It evens out or kind of smooths out your curve of your shooting priorities, because you can go, yes, okay, at some point something's going to live on 1 wound, and then I can just finish it off and not have to waste a whole unit's worth of shooting at it.
Yeah,
that's a good call.
A funny situation that did happen was I shot a Magmadroth a couple of times, took it down to like 4 wounds, had nothing left to shoot it. It then charged my frigate. I dropped some bombs on it, did the D3 mortal wounds, and then I'm like, there's no trading with some people, and just rolled the 3 mortal wounds and just killed it on the charge. But, very niche case, but, it's funny.
But it's a nice way to finish a unit off.
I'm not
in their
sure
own combat
you can
phase.
do it off of bombs and abilities. I think it has to be off of an attack, so if you can only do it if you're using one of your weapons.
It does say from an attack made by one of the units. So an ability, I don't believe counts as an attack. But then, again, this might be a clarification you want to seek either A, from Games Workshop, B, from your tournament organizer. But that does sound like a bit of vagueness there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vagueness in this book.
Good pickup, though. That's a really good pickup, because I don't know. I don't think an ability counts as an attack. Same as if I use an ability with a run roll and it's a shooting attack, but it's an ability, the ability is okay, but the shooting is not. When it comes to artifacts, do you guys dip into malign sorcery, or do you like your own artifacts?
I dipped
stay
in.
pure.
CanCon's pure. Ben?
I would used to stay pure with them, but I recently dipped into them and found some really kind of fun things.
And Gary, where are you at with artifacts?
Well, funny enough, I mix. My go-to at the moment is Thermal Rider Cloak.
Sorry, so you're a malign sorcery.
Yeah, but if I ever get 2, for whatever reason, if I have a battalion, then I'll always go for the Earburster as my second.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as an Urbaz player, I usually have like 3 artifacts to give out. So I can just have lots of fun playing around with, like, you get that one. I'm like Oprah for KO.
So
You get that one, and you get that one, and you get an artifact.
Let's start with malign sorcery. Which are the ones that stand out for you, and why, or where do they go? So Gary's already said Thermal Rider Cloak. Ben, do you go through malign sorcery, and what do you pick?
Yeah, recently I took Aether-Courts. I really like Aether-Courts. With the new command abilities you get, like getting Volley Fire, you can make your army Zilfin, essentially, for a command point, and just having that little thing back was kind of fun. I also, because I had to take it from Heish, I also took another artifact from Heish, which was Blade of Symmetry on my Admiral, which was plus add 1 to the damage characteristic for the weapon. So my Admiral was now a 3 damage Admiral instead of just a 2 damage. And he managed to kill a bunch of stuff. Like, I buffed him, I put Grudge Bearer on him, I buffed him, he had 4 attacks, he did like 12 damage. Not bad for a 120 point character, once you put some resources into him.
Crone, yourself, what do you go from a malign sorcery kind of point of view?
Malign sorcery, yeah, I haven't really used those artifacts for KO. I just kind of stick with what we've got in our book.
Okay, so you're not dipping into the malign sorcery.
Most of the time, I will also stick to just the book. I think
is there any other, before we move on from malign sorcery, is there any other artifacts you would pull? We talked about the Aether-Quartz Brooch. We've talked about the Thermal Rider Cloak. Any other artifacts that might stand out for a KO player? That's not you. Maybe another one.
Possibly the what do you call it? The mortal wound save. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head.
Oh, Ignax.
Ignax scales.
Yeah, the scales. Because again, their characters have always been the weak link. So anything to give them a bit of protection can never really hurt.
Yeah, I think it's solid.
Yeah.
Nothing else?
No.
That's all right. If there's nothing else. Like, there's no value in like a ethereal amulet or sword of judgment or.
So surprisingly, there's actually some really good artifacts in the KO book.
Cool. Okay. Well, let's talk about them.
Surprisingly good.
Let's talk about them. So, without spending up too much time, you've got a whole bunch of different artifacts. You've got one from the Endron Works, which allows your sky vessels to have an artifact. Ben, you've spoken about this a lot.
The last word is my favorite of all the Endron Works.
The last word's the first one, which
I would always put on a ship because I don't take Zilfin. I just whack the last word on. It basically just gives you an Overwatch fire on your cannon for your ship.
So an Overwatch means if the enemy unit finishes it within half an inch of the vessel, it can immediately shoot at that unit. So in the charge phase, basically, you've got to be within half an inch. Yeah. Boom, you're getting a free shot.
It just psychs out people. Like, you'd be like, if you charge that, and I'm mostly using the ship for meat shields anyway. And you just say that ship will get to shoot you when you charge, and that's a terrifying prospect for most people because they don't want that. Like, wounded character charging into a ship and then just dying to cannon fire. It usually doesn't happen, but it's just that risk of it happening is so good.
For the last word, on frigates and gun haulers, I'd always put them on the cannon, but for ironclads, I think the torpedoes are actually the best choice. Like, they do the most damage more consistently out of all its guns.
Yeah, I agree.
Put the last word on.
Any other sky vessel ones you guys would pick? Gary, any thoughts from yourself?
Usually I'm Zilfin, so it's usually a moot point for me. But I have dabbled with the Malefic Sky Mines, especially with flying matter being what it is.
Yeah.
Especially ads as well, because it kind of doubles up. So you can do the ironclad mines for D3 mortal wounds. Then you can do the big sky mine against flyers for D6 mortal wounds, and then you can throw Malefic Sky Mine. And
no. The ironclad doesn't have Malefic Sky Mines, I don't think.
It doesn't have them naturally. No, it has ground. It's D3 damage against ground units, and it's got its D6 damage against flying units.
Yeah, so the frigate's got the inbuilt Sky Mines on the ship.
Yeah, but then you can take the Malefic. What I'm saying is, you can then take, not take in last word. You can then take Malefic Sky Mines, which is another one of the items.
Yeah, but I'm just saying the doesn't have sky mines on it, so you only get the big bomb, and then you only get the malefic sky mines.
Yeah, but what I mean is you've basically got 3 types of mines just to make it as pretty as possible.
Oh yeah. But with the frigate, you can double that up with the malefic sky mines and get like 2 lots of No, sorry, I thought you were saying the Ironclad has them, and
Cool. All right, so last word, and the sky mines are good choices.
I also used to take prudency shoots because sometimes your ship would get killed, and you'd have to roll dice for when stuff had to get out.
If the vessel is destroyed, you can re-roll the rolls of 1 when determining if the passenger
Sometimes
basically dies.
you'd roll a 1 on a character, and you want to re-roll it.
You can re-roll it. That's pretty good safeguard.
It's very niche, but it did happen sometimes.
I think it's also important to point out just Kharadron Overlord artifacts work a little differently. For every single artifact you actually get 2. You get 1 sky vessel artifact and 1 character artifact. Just it's different.
FYI.
Cool. Okay. All right. I can't do much more about that. What about some of the other your weapon choices? Because you've got your athematic weapons, and then finally you've got your treasures of the Skyport. So any of those athematic weapons stand out for you that gets assigned to a hero?
I think 3 of them are pretty good.
Cool. So Crone, first from you. What's your favorites?
Well, I like the Ether Shock Gear Buster. Just it gets past so many little rules, and you can really hurt someone with it. So it's if you do a damage with a hero with this artifact, the enemy unit that took that damage takes an immediate battle shock test. So what you can do is you can shoot a unit with your army, like a big horde unit of Skaven, then hit them with the Earbuster, and they'll take a battle shock using all the casualties they just took.
And then they'll take another battle shock at the end of the battle shock phase with all the stuff that ran from that previous battle shock.
Yeah, and because it's done in the shooting phase, because the Earbuster battle shock is in the shooting phase, they can't use command points to stop that battle shock. So they're taking that no matter what.
That's a good call.
So a really funny combo you can do with that. Sorry.
That's right. I was going to say, because we hadn't really touched upon the fact that the chemists have a really good shooting attack. We were talking about all the buffs and how they're integral to the army. But we never really kind of touched upon the fact that they have 3d6 Ren 2 shots. So the chance of them actually causing a casualty on a unit to make them take that battle shock test is actually really high.
Yeah. A really fun combo you can do with that is it only works in doubles, but you take one player has Keio, the other player takes Seraphon. You take the chemist with the Earbuster. You shoot the Earbuster at a hero. You keep the Carnosaur nearby the hero. You make that hero take a battle shock test. They have to take it. So they got to roll the dice, even though they won't fail it. And then the blood roar will come in, and so they just have to beat that roll, and then that character runs away.
Oh,
only works in doubles.
No, I don't think that'll work. Because you have to actually kill something to make it take the battle shock.
No, because it just says take a battle shock test.
We're talking about the Earbuster.
It's very niche. It
says if the model is slain with this weapon, so it's triggered after a death of the Earbuster.
Oh, damn. Okay, yeah.
It says if any models are slain with this weapon, the unit must immediately take a battle shock test.
Oh, it's going to be funny.
But good maths hammering. But
never mind.
Stupid. I think there's another one that says you can take the Empire Free Guild General and Griffin, and you can use their shriek as well.
Again, there's a way to do it.
Yeah,
very niche.
But all the kind of battle shock shenanigans, it plays perfectly into any kind of shenanigans that you can come up with.
Yeah. I think Gattleson's Endless Repeater is really good on the Endremaster.
Yeah.
Or even the Chemist. It just adds 2 to your shooting attacks.
Yeah.
Is that to the chemist you said?
No, to the Endron Master.
He's got that laser eye shot, that single laser eye shot, and you make it 3. That's pretty good. Does deeply damage.
Yeah, and the other one's the ocular optimization. They're all basically same kind of thing. They all go under chemists, and just make the shots just do more work.
So you're adding one to the hit roll in the shooting for that that chemist.
So with Herbaz, I generally take one chemist with the earbuster, one with the ocular optimization. So one was hitting on 3s, the other was doing the battle shock stuff.
What about the treasures of the Skyport?
Loop used to be really good.
Was that the
It's still not
Aether
bad.
loop?
The loop, as written in the book, is really nice. Just pretend the FAQ never existed.
Okay, so it's been FAQ'd and it's not as attractive as it used to be.
Yeah.
So you used to be able to roll 3 dice.
3D.
3d6 Unbind was so good.
And what's it changed to now? Like a +1 or something?
You just get another unbind.
Right, gotcha.
You get 2 basic unbinds, yeah.
Which
Is
is
there
still
any-
pretty good. Like,
So is there anything worthwhile in the treasures of the Skyport, or are we gonna stack more in the other sections?
Loop for sure. Loop's really good. I like Loop.
Auto Tinkerer, if you really want to make that invincible ship, give an Endon Master the Auto Tinkerer and just keep healing boats forever.
Yeah. I used to take the Master Wrought Armor on my Admiral just for that innate Mystic Shield. When you could never get Mystic Shield on them, you take that. Keeps them alive, or even put it on a Navigator and just get that super. So they sit them in cover, 2-up save rerolling ones. Not a bad little choice.
Okay. I mean, it sounds like you got a lot of cool options, both internally as well as in malign sorcery. And I'm sure we could spend a lot more time looking at every single artifact. But it sounds like there's quite a large range.
I think a lot of them have a lot of good uses. Sorry, Gary.
I was going to say there's a big gulf between like the good ones and the not good ones.
Yeah. But there's enough good ones there to make the choice interesting.
Yeah, there are some books that it's just like there's one clear winner, but it looks like there's a good mix and variety between the different artifact choices. When it comes to go on.
Sorry, when the Keio book first came out, it was way more polarized than it was now, because some things have obviously been FAQ'd and made better and with points and things. But when the book first dropped, I went through it and I worked out every single option you could take, so every item, every weapon option. And I think when you were making a KO list, you had something like 120 choices when you were making a list, but you only used 30 of them. So it was like, if I take riggers, it's a very polarized book between, is this any good or am I never going to use it? It might have got a smidge better now, but it's still a very kind of, if it's not doing anything, I'm probably never taking it.
So they were definitely in the dumps at the beginning of 2.0, for sure.
Yeah.
I think they've just gotten a little bit of a kick, like a little bit more, just to tide them over until we hopefully get our new book.
Yeah, you get in line. When it comes to malign sorcery and the endless spells, now I know some of you have said, "Yay, let's ally in a wizard like the Incantor." Some of you are not big fans of the Incantor. Do you spend any points on endless spells? I know, Gary, you mentioned about the Dias that allows the Stormcast wizard to kind of keep up with the movement shenanigans, but is there any other endless spells you would consider, or do you just not have the points to spend on endless spells, or the casters to take advantage of it?
I think the Comet's okay.
Magic doesn't belong in a dwarf army.
All right, so Ben's saying no to magic. He doesn't believe it should be in a dwarf. Ken Krohn is saying maybe
the Comet, the Stormcast Comet. So if you get 2 wizards, you can, do the cast it down, dispel it, next turn cast it down again, dispel it, bring it down every turn. does a lot of mortal wounds. You'd have to go pretty hard on wizards at that point. You'd have to invest a lot of points in it, but it can do a lot of damage, and it's ranged, so it fits in with the rest of your army.
Or you go for that nullifying terrain. Gary, yourself, any other endless spells you're picking for your wizard?
As I say, Dias is really the only kind of one I've ever kind of messed about with in my KO, just because it just added something that the army couldn't generally do otherwise. It also gave you double dispels when you cast it, so future turns you had double dispels, which made up for one of their kind of lacks. Comet, as I say, as Krohn says, Comet's probably getting a little bit better now, maybe. Because of the new scenery rules, you can do the whole kind of cheeky double taps. A bit niche, but it gives it a little bit more playability. In case anyone's wondering, you can cast Comet near the nullifying terrain.
Yeah, nullifying. Yep.
And you can kind of explode it, and it all disappears straight away. Then you can cast it next turn and keep doing that kind of thing. Did it get cheaper as well?
As it currently rules, you drop it, you set up the effects, and then you nullify it. So you get all the benefits of the setup, and then you have it to recast the next turn as it stands currently.
All right. So that's quite cheeky and gives you an extra little bit of long range. For the life of me, I can't remember if it's still 100 points with the Comet.
I think so, yeah.
I don't think it changed.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
So
that's all right.
Still quite a good trick.
Yeah, it's 100 points.
There's some really janky things you can do with the mercenary companies. You take the Flesh Eater one, you get like a Arch Regent.
Yeah, double spellcaster,
Double
Arch Regent.
spellcaster, and then like 3 models.
And then summon 20 ghouls into opponent's back lines if you're allowed to use mercenaries.
It's very dirty, but like just
and Keio is not an army that relies on command abilities anyway. So
the command point loss isn't massive for you. So
yeah.
Again,
although volley fire improves things considerably.
Yeah.
The new generic command ability helps a lot.
So we're at the last part of the show, I think, and we've had 2.5 hours of goodness so far. So thank you for hanging on, especially Gary, your daughter, who has been jumping on the camera, who I'm sure wants Daddy back, but she's been very patient, very good girl. The last things I want to ask is really about, okay, we've built our list. We've got a really good understanding of how to use Keio and customize it and optimize it and choose all the cool stuff to make it great, whether it's weapon choices or buff supports or, choosing the different transports. So the last piece is then how do I get the most out of this army on the table? So I guess the 2-part question is question 1, how do I best play with them? Part 2 is if I was a new player, what advice would you give me? So let's focus on the first part is how do I get the best out of Keio on the table, Crone?
Well, my school of thought is gun line. I've always thought you need 2 or 3 big threats. So I'll go put in your 40-man squad of Kharadons, of Arcanauts, with the Chemist, screen that using the 2 10-man squads, and then possibly some ally evocators or paladins or whatever, something big and tough. So they have to get through 2 separate lines of chaff before they actually hit your big killing unit. Meanwhile, you've got 15 or 14 Thunderers in the sky, dropping down on one of their flanks, harassing their objectives, taking their focus off your main battle line, just being a nuisance, taking objectives. Yeah. And basically just pick them off bit by bit with those 24 Skyhook shots.
Great. And Gary, yourself, what advice, how do I best play with Keio?
In very general terms, I mean, the list that you're going to do is obviously going to dictate what you're doing specifically. But in general terms, with Keio, your first turn is huge. And that kind of leads into target priority. Target priority and measuring your distances in Keio is is just, I can't get over how critical it is. If you're shooting the wrong thing, or you shoot the thing out of sequence or out the wrong sequence, and you put other guns in your army out of range because you shot something first rather than third, is just huge. So like making sure that you fire your pistols first because they're just in range, and you do what casualties you can, and not giving your opponent the opportunity to take things out of range of other units and other weapons when you're taking these casualties off. So like if you say you led with, say, your drill cannons and you went into like a big unit, and then he goes, all right, cool, you've killed 4, and he takes those 4 off at the front, and suddenly all your Arcanaut pistols are out of range, it's so much damage that you've just lost, that you really have to think about your target priority to make sure that you are killing the things that will cause you problems later down the line first, but also making sure that you are not wasting shots. You, as an army that relies on shooting, you're not actually that good at it. What you've got is lots of dice at it. So you have to make sure that those dice are going as far as possible, even to the point where when you're setting up and moving. The reason I like the balloons is because you can put maybe 2 or 3 units in their threat range, and if you happen to have a good round of shooting with, say, the first couple of units, and you kill that unit, you're not then going to waste those shots because you've got a secondary and a tertiary unit in range of those guns. So you kind of like, right, that needs to die first, that second, that third. Where do I go to make sure that I'm getting as many guns at target A, and then as many as I can at target B, and as many at target C? And then your first turn is basically finding those sweet spots where you can get the most out of every single unit. Because even a unit of Arcanauts not firing its pistols can sometimes be game changing. You haven't got the numbers to mess about with just that should be fine. It's either it is fine or it's not, and you've just been tabled.
Yeah, that resonates with me as a free guild player, because I'm always going with my handgunners first because they've got the shorter range than the crossbows, and making sure that I don't put myself out of range. So that really resonates with me as a priority of working from the shortest distance to the longest distance, as opposed to going the other way. Ben, yourself, how do you get best out of them?
So I listened to a podcast with Gary on when Keio first came out, and that whole measuring thing stuck with me, like, through the rest of like me playing with them. Like, it was the best advice that I got. It was just constantly measuring stuff, constantly checking ranges. Like, you just do it all the time. Like, while you're waiting for your opponent to do stuff, you can just do it and just check your inches. Honestly, I use the ships as expensive meat shields. So it's essentially every turn that you can delay your enemy from getting into your back lines is probably another round of like full-on shooting you can do. I don't know. Honestly, there's just lots of like weird little tricks you can do. I like the little tricks that you find. And I think you guys pretty much covered everything.
I mean, this has been quite an extensive show so far, so I'm really tapping at the last bits of the well.
Right. If you are playing against Keio, the ships don't worry about the ships. Honestly, just don't. I'm helping all the players playing against them. The ships aren't as scary as you think they are. The foot troops are scarier.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call. And then
be aware of your opponent's charge, like of your opponent's threat ranges. Make sure you're not within that. Just the measuring with the screens and the threat and the charge ranges that your opponent could possibly make is very important.
So, quick question before I go to the last question. Quick question is, in the average game, in the ideal average game, do you take first turn or give it away?
Depends on the army, honestly. I look at my opponent's army, and that determines whether I take first or second.
So what? Because you guys talked about the importance of setup and the importance of your priority in the first round. Are you more likely to give it away if you're not in range? Are you, with your movement, more likely to take it and try to snipe characters and thin down units? Or like, what's the process at the start of like the round?
Name me some armies and I'll give you my... I can't honestly give you a definitive answer.
You can
Gary's
boil it
got
down to you can boil it down to like not a coin flip, but a 50-50. If they have got some crazy ass buffs that will make your first turn anywhere near untenable, you take first. However, if they don't have that and don't have the ability to get to you turn one, then you always give away the turn. So if you're playing like drop Stormcast, which is probably very bad, and they've left things on table, I will usually take first and create problems because all the stuff that's going to drop in is going to not care where I am on the table, and I can't really kind of get away from it. And then they're going to have these really crazy buffs from, say, the spells and from the lantern guy, all these things, that if I give them first, there is absolutely no benefit to me because I can't hide and they're just going to get stronger. So I'll take first and hope I get the double turn. But if it's, say, something like Slaanesh, make it relevant. Slaanesh, I will never generally give Slaanesh the ability to choose the turn, and I'll always give them the first turn.
Yeah.
Because what are they going to do? As long as I've not deployed 18 inches away and they've got a Keeper of Secrets on the front line, as long as I'm not being stupid, there's no benefit to going first and giving a Slaanesh army double turn. You might as well just let them move up, claim what objectives they can, and then just hose them off the table. If you get a double turn, even better. So it really comes down to that kind of split. It's like, and it's that kind of razor sharp. It's like, if they can't do anything to me, then just give it to me.
And that was kind of what I wanted to get out of you guys, because obviously every scenario, every opponent, every build is different. But, when it comes down to, you've got usually an elite army, you've got, lots of shooting. What's my thinking process? And I think that was a really good example.
Yeah. I think screening is very important as well. Like, if you just set up a good screen, doesn't really matter. You take first or second.
Yeah. So the last question I have for you guys is, as a new player, what advice would you give me if I was starting up or about to play KO for the first time? Maybe starting up KO. Let's think about that one. Crone, what would your advice be as a new person?
Don't get the start collecting box.
Solid consumer information.
Well, like, you can get it, like most armies, you get the start collecting box like twice, you get a hero, you're good to go. That's a good starting army. KO, you can get as many of those start collecting boxes as you want, you're never going to make an army.
Well, it's the only start collecting box without a battle line, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah.
Now, you want 3 boxes of Arcanauts, so you can have 3 squads, but that gives out your battle line, and you get enough special weapons to give each squad 3 of each, and then you just kind of shove those sky pikes to the side later. Get a chemist. I'd probably get balloon boys later on, but yeah, this is as a core. Just get 3 Arcanauts, 1 chemist. That'll give you a good starting army.
Cool, good advice. And Gary, what's your advice you give me as a new player?
If you're any good at it, I would heartily recommend to magnetize. I would really recommend magnetizing your stuff if you can do it. The army is historically been the one that's been messed around with the most, and going forward, I can imagine it being messed about with even more. I don't think when they get a book, it's going to be a tweak. I think it's going to be a ground up rework. So if you want to get the most out of your models, I would, I would definitely think about magnetizing all the options.
And the reference you're referring to is magnetizing the weapon choices. So,
Yeah.
so when go on, Gary.
Yeah, so like your drill cannons and your grapnels, just a little magnet just to make sure that, because they're the same gun, it's just the end, and like the pikes and the saws to make riggers and wardens. Just all these little things. If you can do it, I really would.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to magnetize, definitely check out YouTube. I haven't created a video, but there's plenty of great videos. I'm sure Vince Venturella from Warhammer Weekly's created at least one video. It's quite easy to do if you plan for it in advance.
On the subject of modeling, when you get your first ship, which you will eventually, pin that flying stand into the ship, because it's going to break so quickly.
Yeah.
Especially the ironclad. That thing is so top heavy, and the flying stand is so small. The amount of times that's just snapped. You glue it back and you snaps. I've put 2 pins in my ironclad so far. One in the upper stand and one connecting its lowest fin to the base.
Yeah.
Just to actually keep it standing for one tournament at least.
So the gun holes in the frigates are like definitely okay-ish on those flying stands. They're not great, but they're okay-ish. The ironclad, just don't even bother. Just have a contingency plan for that thing. Sorry, Gary.
I was going to say, yeah, just don't use any of the flying stands. I've just cut out the middleman and just rod and pin it from the very beginning, all of them.
Ben, what's your last piece of advice you give me as a new player coming into KO?
Honestly, like, just look at what you like and just get that. Honestly, that's how I started. I just picked the models that I liked, and like I liked the Admiral. The Admiral was really fun. I just picked up the Admiral and a unit of Arkanauts, and that was it. And just start with that hero and a battle line, and you can pretty much go from there.
The last question I'm going to let you, because I know Ben's very excited about this. I wasn't planning this one, but if we were going to speculate what the change might look like if a new book was to be released, not to say there is a new book coming, but if it was, what's the one change you'd like to see, or what's a speculation of change that you think would come down the line? So, Gary, you've kind of alluded already to maybe the weapon output and the choices of modeling. Gary, is there any other ones that you think might happen?
I think that the boats will get a ground rework. I think most of the issues that people have playing against KO are usually kind of revolving around the boats. Don't feel quite so fun to play against because they give all the movement shenanigans. And also KO players playing with boats always say that they feel very underpowered. You know, you're running around with basically a tank with a 5-up armor save.
Why does a Squig Hopper have the same armor save as my heavily armored ironclad blimp?
Exactly.
You know why? They build them on the cheap.
Yeah. I just suspect that boats will just massively change. I'm hoping that they will get the garrisoning rules, which are a rule in Age of Sigmar. And if they got that, I think that would solve a lot of problems with a small kind of maybe armor save buff, because you could actually use the boats like they're supposed to be.
You can shoot from the decks. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Like they do in all the books.
Garrison rules. The garrison rules literally say when you deploy our unit, you can deploy it in a garrison. So it would get rid of all those kind of, oh, this is now a 2-drop army because I've got a boat. You'd have to deploy one thing at a time into the boat. So that would kind of cut out a lot of the gripes from both sides of the fence, I think.
Oh, good call. Ben, yourself, what choice would you make?
I would love to see some like weird, wacky, athematic like things that you can deploy that your like Andrew Master can put down. Like a line of sky mines or just something like just some interesting, weird, wacky things that aren't spells.
Almost like an endless
the Fire
spell,
Slayer?
but like
The Fire Slayer stuff.
like a prayer
really
or judgment,
stuff.
but a KO version.
Yeah, and I would love the Engine Master to be like a buff for ships, like the Chemist is for foot troops.
Kenkron?
For me, just battle line. Just Thunderers, Sky Wardens, Gun Haulers, anything. Give us options.
That's fair. And look, I'm not a KO player. That was going to be my recommendation. Is
Amen.
Was get a second one, mate. You need more than one battle line. Like, come on, guys.
Even if they're like, if you're a KO Allegiance, you can have Thunderers, or if you take an Endril Master, you can take Gun Haulers, or something like that.
Well, even like in my army, the Gloom Spike gets at the moment. It says, if your general is blah, squigs become battle line. If your general is blah, then something else trolls become battle line. Like, sweet, okay, it puts a bit more skin in the game.
Just give us some options. Like, if they're restrictive, I don't care. I just want to run Thunder as the battle line.
Yep, I'm with you guys. Whew, it's 2 hours and 45 minutes. People in the chat have hung around for a long time. This has been very knowledgeable. Lots of bombs dropped, both from the frigates and from you guys. That was unplanned. But this has been a lot of fun. I've learnt a lot. I hope people who are watching either now or on replay learnt a lot. But I'm sure people are going to have plenty of questions and going to want to discuss their ideas and their thoughts. So where can people find you if they want to chat about lists and your crazy Aether mind going off? Kharadron, people want to talk to you. Where can they find you?
Well, I'm on the Kharadron Overlords Facebook page, also on Twitter as Grand Admiral Order. And yeah, just put out a semi-regular, at least once a month, podcast on YouTube.
Awesome. Ben?
I am on the Twitters. Recently sort of starting up, learning how to use it. So yeah, if you want to hurl abuse at me, go for it.
What's your handle?
Oh, it's B Spinetti. Yeah. I need a cooler name. So if you could send me name, go for it.
And God damn it, Gary, if they want to talk to you, where can they find you?
Funnily enough, on Twitter under God damn it, Gary.
God damn it, Gary.
But yeah, I'm also in pretty much all the chats, the WhatsApp chats and things like that. So yeah.
And to make all your life easier, I've included all three of your Twitter handles in the channel description below for this episode. Kharadron, I don't have the link to your YouTube channel, so if you send it through to me, I will add it post-production. Make sure if you haven't subscribed and you enjoyed this type of content, we do lots more of these faction focuses. And this is actually the last one we're going to be doing in this particular style. YouTube is discontinuing this particular platform, but there will be a new look and feel as of late this week. So stay tuned. New look, new feel, but same faction focus and down to Sigmar goodness. Stop the boats. I've really enjoyed this. Hopefully we see lots more KO on the table because they are a cool army that have been a little bit abused for the last year or two, and I think it's their time to rise up and put the Grizzlegores and the Slanishes and the Nagashers at bay. Is you guys our beacon light until the cities of Sigmar come in and the Free Guild are topping every meta.
All right, that's just warned him. All right, everyone, make him walk the plank.
Guys, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure. Gary, Ben, and Kharadron.
Pleasure's all mine.
All right, I think we'd like to salute.
It was good to abuse Magro again.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
All right.